afternoon, everyone. It's November 13th. This is the meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission. And first off would be the roll call. Paula?
Commissioner Heller.
Here.
Vice Chair Wiegand.
Here.
Commissioner Hostrop.
Here.
Commissioner Arterberry.
Present.
Commissioner Kleinschmidt.
Here.
Chair Cohen.
Here.
Commissioner Wick will not be here today. He's attending a different meeting here at City Hall.
Thank you very much. The agenda was posted.
On November 6th at City Hall.
Thank you. You all got your minutes with all the packets included? Comments? Any additions or?
I just had a couple. On number 7 on page 3, it says, this is minor, but it says placement of the plaques will be on the north and south pedestals. I think maybe it should say the north and south sides. I mean, the pedestals are all the same. That's minor. And also, and on the same page down at the bottom, it just for, in the future, when someone's looking back, it doesn't indicate what tribe. We should probably say the Agua Caliente Band of Mission Indians in the Cahuilla. Is it? Okay, I didn't see it. I don't see it, but
Page?
I think probably if we talk about a different tribe, I would probably put it in.
okay. And then on page
Yeah.
4, is this right? It says that Mr. Barakian advised the commission that the project would be similar to the concept involved with the Gene Autry Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember that. Okay.
What
Because then it
Gene
talked about the
Autry
Dinah Shore Bridge.
What Gene Autry Bridge?
Yeah, that's,
Well, I can go back and listen to the DVD, but I'm pretty sure you said Gene Autry. He was talking about the concept of going, the bridge that you guys were talking about, the
Going over the 10th.
over the Highway 10.
But I think he was talking about the fact that the tribe was getting together with all of their people who were making the plans prior to building the
I'll go
bridge,
back and check
which is
the
what we were
DVD.
doing on the.
okay.
I'll look, I'll
there
look at the DVD and see what it says.
Because later there was talk about the Dinah Shore Bridge, so.
Okay, I'll check it.
Perfect. Anything else?
That's it.
Okey
No.
dokey. So noted. Any other comments? If not, a motion, please.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as, with the corrections stipulated.
I second.
Thank you, Beth. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Public comments. 5-minute time limit. Public? Hello, public. Who's here? I can't see who's here. Should we start with David? Oh, that's all agendized.
Yes.
There is no public comments. They're all on the agenda. Thank you very much. We will close public comments and move right into legislative action. I'd like to welcome a stranger to our midst, Mr. David Aiken. This is a very nice group of people, so be nice. David, if all of you in the great out there, Mr. Aiken was the former chairman and a very successful and wonderful chairman of the Public Arts Commission. But that's forgotten, so now you're our adversary.
I've come to refresh your memory in case anyone's forgotten me. So I'm here today to speak of the Arterberry's mural, formerly known as Blimpie's mural. I think you're all familiar with it. I could run through a brief history. We started this project about 7 years ago. It was Liebling Trust. It came to us and asked us if we'd like to participate in a mural project on this building. Originally, we were looking at the Hollywood figures, and we had a Hollywood motif. The Arts Commission at that time felt that really didn't match the corner because we had done such great work on that corner, pat ourselves on the back. We have the Agua Caliente women, and we have the beautiful Doug Hyde piece, which the Agua Calientes provided. So we wanted to do something classy, so we talked to some local artists, and we came up with the original design, which I have right here. So I'll pass this around so everybody remembers what it looked like. And it was being underwritten by Liebling Trust, so they were on a limited budget. So we decided to do it in a new technology at the time. This was about 5 years ago. It was basically an inkjet technology on vinyl. So I have a sample. This is a sample from the wall, so you can see that after 6 years, still quite durable, and I'll pass that around. It's basically it's similar to Glichet technology, or also the this new signage. You see a lot now. Almost all the sign companies are doing this, but it's called Scotchlite, and it's basically 3 different layers. You have a clear plastic layer, and underneath you have the image layer, and then you have this adhesive layer. This is actually 2 pieces put together, but you can still see how sticky it is and how flexible, and I think how vibrant it is after 5 years. So that worked very well, and I think it held up good. We had never tried anything like this before, and just to refresh your memory, here's an image of on the building. You can just pass it around. So that's it on the building right now. Well, sorry, Lori. Just really over the summer, we noticed that there had been damage to the mural, and I surmise what had happened is that there's a molding at the bottom, and what happened was the molding shifted and caused a tear in the vinyl, somewhere in this area here, and it was just kind of a compulsive vandalism. I don't think it was done on purpose, but I talked to several people in the area, and as people walked by, they would just like tear off a little piece, maybe a little souvenir, and I know you can't resist like peeling paint, so you peel off a little bit more. But before we knew it, we had the whole center section was gone. So we had to do something really quick. So I consulted with the artist, and the artist at the time suggested, well, we really can't repair it. So what we could do is we had different ideas. You could repair the different panels, because actually it's a series of panels. So we decided at the time, just so it would look decent, that what we did was cut off the whole bottom panel of the piece. And it was really a shame. But I think right now on the building, it looks good. I think one of the reasons why this mural is so, I think, dear to my heart is that during the installation, Sonny, our mayor, was killed in a skiing accident. And we were in the process of doing this. So the owner of Blimpies at the time asked us to dedicate it to Sonny. So this was the first piece of artwork that was dedicated to Sonny. And Mary came out and was dedicated, and I think when I was working on the mural to fix it, I had many people drive by and said, "Oh no, you're not taking it down." I said, "No, I'm not taking it down because I think it means a lot to this city." And it means a lot, I think, because what this represents, I don't know if I've ever explained this to you, but it's basically the sun and moon. You know those beautiful mornings, actually like today, we have the sun in the sky, the sun's ascending, and we have the moon that's ready to set in the west, and you have all the beautiful colors that are dancing across the desert, and it really encompasses the whole desert, you know, from the east end to the west end, north and south. And that's why I think we can all agree that Sonny really loved the desert, and that's why I think it means a lot to the residents of Palm Springs. So now the question is, how do we save it and how to restore it? Because I think right now we only have half of a mural. So what I'm asking you today is, if you agree with the concept, we'd go further. So what I've talked to the artist, and what he's proposing is that we basically replace the mural, and we've gotten bids for the vinyl technology, which come in about the same price, about $2,000. But we know that won't really be effective because the vandalism problem could still remain. So what Durand has come up with is a idea for a mural, tiles. Because right now what's really exciting is that they're applying this technique to ceramic tiles. So they can be printed and then fired, and it's a permanent glazed tile. So what he's proposing that we do is take the same mural and make it into 12-inch squares. Now they're using this technology all over the state of California. Just jump back a little bit. I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but these are images of I think it was the May Company downtown. What they've done is actually been able to screen these onto tiles and then fire them. So it has a very photoistic quality, but it can be reproduced exactly. So we can actually reproduce this mural exactly onto tiles. And there's other artists who are using it too, just for a few.
David, is that the May Company on Wilshire?
That's the May Company in Wilshire.
By the museum. It's part of the museum.
Right,
now.
so they took these old photos and they're using them for displays. And here's a Wyland, the whale guy you're all familiar with. He's using it a lot. So what's really exciting is that we can actually produce this mural onto tiles, onto the wall, make it permanent, making it a lasting feature of Palm Springs at a substantially reduced cost. Because I know that when we looked at the mural in Desert Highland, Richard White's mural, was upwards of $20,000. Of course, it was much larger. I don't anticipate the cost will be any close to that. And you're probably all wondering, where are we going to get this money? So what I'm proposing that we will just be fundraising for this project only. So what we're asking you today is, if you like the concept, agree to the concept in theory, then when I get more specifics, I'll come back to you for final approval.
The advantage of the tiles is one of the advantages that if something is damaged, or is it not to be damaged because it's on tiles? Or is the advantage is that if you do it on tiles and something is damaged, you can replace a tile?
Exactly, good question, both. Because first of all, it won't be subject to being torn, which is this big drawback. It won't be torn, it'll have a clear coat finish on it, so if you do spray paint, it can be washed off. And then if a tile is broken, you can actually just replace that one tile. Because it's all basically printing technology.
And would you clarify who the "we" is of fundraising?
Well, the we is so far, it will be, I will work with the local groups, and I'll start probably at 501c3 just to raise the funds. And I'd like to hopefully I can get Congresswoman Bono involved too, because I think this is something that might be dear to her heart. So I haven't approached her yet, but as soon as I get your okay, I'll approach her and see if we can go forward with it.
So you're looking for an approval of the concept, not an outlay of funds?
Exactly. You guys don't like fundraising?
Could you spell your first and last name, please?
We did so well.
We sure did.
David, what goes around the edges of it? Is there some sort of framing around it?
Well, right now there's a molding around it. So for the new design, I would still do the molding around it because I think it offsets it nice, but it'd be a ceramic molding, like you have on a regular ceramic installation.
That's the story.
Yeah, I love the idea of tile. I think it's great.
Oh,
Do
I
we
think
need
we all
to
do.
approve? I mean, the concept was already approved. This is just a replacement in another medium.
The only thing is that it does, the texture and the look of the thing, so I appreciate your coming to us to ask us that, because on an up-close basis, it will be a different piece of work of art. I prefer the tile.
And we may move it up higher. So on the original picture, there's an extra 2 or 3 feet that we can move it up higher. So I'd like to move it up just a few more feet. I think that would protect it even
That's
more.
handy for people reaching and touching.
Exactly.
I think it also would be very visual, be a little higher than that. No, I can see why you came before us, and that's appreciated. Are there any comments about it? Because I think the tile concept is
I have one
terrific. Yes.
Do you have any kind of an idea what the cost factor is on?
Not at this time. I have the manufacturers, I have there's a bid out right now to them, so I'm waiting for them to get it back to me.
Okay. I'd make a motion to approve in concept.
I'll second.
Any further questions or comments? We thank you. A vote in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? David?
Thank you.
We not only thank you, but we wish you extreme well in the fundraising efforts.
Thank you.
And we know you'll be successful.
Yeah, I know some really good fundraisers.
If it
I think they're all in this room too.
If it gets upwards of $500,000, come back and let us know.
Exactly, okay. Because you're going to,
May I ask just one question? Do you know what your time frame is?
if all goes, what's nice about this process is if it all goes well, it can be completed very fast. It's the process itself, actually, the tiles are completed in the studio, so it really is very quick, and since it's an inkjet technology, it goes really quick. So really the only obstacle that we have is the fundraising, and that will depend on the final cost. If it's upwards of, we're just tossing around some ideas. Either we're going to be selling limited edition cliches or possibly tiles themselves. So if we sold $100 a tile, we had 200 tiles, $20,000. I think it might take about a year.
Right, and you'll bring this back to us.
With the final,
Yeah.
with the final, because what we'll want to, when we work with the manufacturers, we're going to want to tweak it and make sure that we're going to be able to maintain the same ratio of size, and that's going to be very important. So you'll have to see it, make sure that the size and the placement is up to your liking.
Part of your fundraising is to sell.
These are just ideas we're talking around. If we decided to sell limited edition prints or tiles, just to raise the funds. If we keep the unit cost low enough, I think we'll be very successful. Sell them through local clubs, Rotary clubs, Kiwanis.
The artist is okay with you making a limited edition off of the image?
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, for no fee and anything like that?
For no fee. He just wants to keep it up. I mean, he donated all his time to complete it in the first place, so he just wants to keep it up. I think it's just a beautiful addition to the city, and he just feels the same way.
Any other questions? So you'll report back to us?
I'll report back.
ASAP.
ASAP.
We'd like it up by a week from next Tuesday.
I'd like to have it up in 6 months, but I'm not going to say that because,
Maybe
well, you
one.
know how I am with my times. 6 months, 6 years.
Yeah, right. And now that you live in Palm Desert,
Yeah, no, I live there, so, I go by Palm Desert time.
thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
It's good to see you
Thank you.
around the old table again.
It was nice. It was nice being here.
Couldn't give him a hard time, man.
I know.
Let's do it. Let's open it up
Yes, we
again.
did, about the fundraising.
Okay. Next, Mr. Gandolfo, I think you're here.
I am.
It's the Palm Springs Airport self-storage presentation.
You received this information in your packets.
Oh, that's in the packet.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Careful. Don't scratch the table. Don't make it black out.
Don't scratch the work of art. I don't care about the table.
That could be fixed.
David, there's also a hand mic there if you need to use that.
Nah, this is
It's
fine.
beautiful.
Okay.
My voice is loud enough. My name is David Gandolfo. I'm the owner of Palm Springs Airport Self-Storage. This is the artist of this piece, Travis Constance. What's in front of you today is a packet of several things. I'll just run through it real quick so you can see it and get the scope. First of all, you think of self-storage, and artwork doesn't necessarily come to mind. But we are right off of Ramon Road, off Airport Center. So if you know where Fat Burger is in Gold's Gym, we're to the direct west of Gold's Gym in that vacant parcel, 3.6 acres. So we back up to the airport, the main entrance to the airport. So that's what the site map shows you. We have about 498 units in our self-storage facility, which is about 70% complete in the construction process. The architect for my facility is Jim Chiaffi. And if you can see by this picture with his cute little TT in there, this is what the facility looks like. And anybody who's familiar with self-storage facilities,
They don't look like that.
I beg you to, try to find one that looks this way. So we are, I'm spending the money to make this facility look a lot different than what's
Really is.
been built in Palm Springs ever before. This is the first facility being built in Palm Springs in over, I think, 9 years. So we're adding 27,000 feet of climate controlled, which is true air conditioned self-storage to the marketplace. The reason I'm going through this is I'm not going after the typical customer that you might see in self-storage, a guy putting a motorhome or a trailer, wherever the case may be. This is higher end stuff. I'm also introducing to the marketplace a 35,000 bottle wine storage facility, which is also inside the office area. So this is not a typical self-storage facility. What we are proposing, and in this packet, is some information about Travis, the artist, who's from Phoenix, Arizona. This piece, which is right after the resume. This is some of the pieces Travis has, and if you have any questions directly to the artist, please speak up at any time. But on the back of it is an interesting interview that Travis gave, talking about his medium and his scope of work. It's a few years old. There's just some different pictures of some different pieces, different galleries that he's represented. And then there's obviously some pictures of the piece, and Travis brought the piece so you could see it for yourself. What I'm asking for, obviously, is the approval to put this facility, put this piece of art in my facility.
What, where?
Where does it,
I'll show you that. Because we've had some in-length discussions on where it's going to go.
Is that the entrance?
There you go.
That's the monkey.
If you can pull, this is the sheet I'm going to refer to. You got it right now in your hands.
David, you might want to explain that that's the size
We're gonna
that you're
get there.
proposing.
Yeah, we're going to
Okay.
get there. We're going to get there. Where it's going to go is Tom Dosey somewhere around here. There he is. Tom did the landscape plan for it. So it's going to go right in this corner.
Next,
Okay.
next to the palm tree that's
Next
there.
to the palm trees, so in this corner. So when you drive up, when you drive by my facility, you'll see this piece of art sitting on a concrete slab, number one. And then when you drive into my facility, whether you're driving in to store your belongings or retrieve your belongings or whatever the case may be, or going to the office, you have to pass by this piece of art. So that's where we're proposing, in this corner.
On your approach, the only way to get to your site is on that auxiliary road, or can you get there from Dorothea or one of the other streets?
You come from Dorothea, I believe is where Fatburger is.
Yeah, Dorothea's right,
Okay.
goes
So
right
you
by
turn-
Gold's.
Okay, you turn right into Dorothea, and you take a left in Airport Center. You can also head down Ramon and take a right on Avenue de Evelita, I think it's Evelita. Take a right in there, and you did right into my facility. You can also go where the Geo Petro is now, I forget the name of the street.
El Placer is in
Up
there.
You can turn left or right, either eastbound or westbound in Ramon. Take a right on Airport Center, and you will see, because you can see it now, you can see the steel wall and the skyscraper of the office.
How far are you from Gold's, would you say?
Yeah, it may be eighth of a mile, if that.
Leo, you can see it, if you're driving down Ramon, you can see
You
it from
can't see
Ramon.
it from
You can see the
Ramon.
construction. You can see
I-
the
Well,
construction.
take that-
But I don't take my eyes off the road when I'm in Ramon.
See what from, see what
You
from,
can see the piece from the street, this is accessible to the public.
it's accessible to the public, yes.
Is it right here?
Yeah, it's right there. It'll be sitting right there. I didn't put it in. So remote, so Airport Center Drive is right there. So yeah, you will be able to see it. All right, you asked about the size. What were the dimensions, Travis?
51 inches tall, 61 inches long, and 26 inches wide. It's different than what's on the, I redid the full-scale drawing.
51.
51, 61, 26?
Correct.
51 high, 26 wide. I mean, 51 high, 61 wide, 26 deep.
Long.
5 feet.
61 long, 26 deep.
Correct.
5 feet by 4 feet
Yes,
by
Little over 4 feet.
2 feet.
right.
So the visibility is there, it's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Oh, will it be on a pedestal?
It's going to be on a, just turn around.
Use your mic, please.
It's going to be on a concrete slab.
Elevated
A-
or completely
Elevated.
flat?
Elevated, but non-turning pedestal. I mean, it's not going to be spinning.
And it faces out to the, it faces in the, out to the, from the
I'm
corner?
going to let the
or-
artist say which way he
Oh.
wants it to face.
I looked at the site today, and I think it won't be in a full profile to the street. I think it'll be just at a little bit of an angle, most likely. Yeah, similar to this.
Which I believe in your packet, I think it's picture 2 or 3 of the actual piece of art. The picture you're looking at is obviously this mock-up that he's made. But something like that on the side of the street, so you can at least see the flowing angles.
Well, here it is. Do you name your sculpture?
I do. This one's untitled. This is done specifically for Dave, so I'll think of something appropriate.
Dave's.
Dave.
Dave.
So when people drive by, hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Can you,
We'll have a name when it's installed.
Absolutely.
well, even untitled could be. Can you, just very quickly, what is the fabrication of the building? And could you tell me, there's like an up and down, is that like a lobby, the glass?
The design of the office is twofold. On the first floor is where your office is, counter, display area of boxes and so forth, and towards the back of the eastern side, where the brick is on the first floor, is where the wine room is. Above this is where a caretaker can live. It's a one-bedroom apartment,
Oh, well, you have thought of everything.
and my office is also on the second floor.
Dave's
which-
place.
Dave's place.
And is that concrete?
There is, the block is a split-face block in a tan color.
And the vertical?
The vertical are steel beams. If you drive by this site today, oh, you're talking about
I'm
this?
talking about this.
That is a green sheet metal. It's
Oh.
metal. It's a corrugated metal.
Interesting.
We went with Jim wanted to go with a retro style, which is Jim Chaffee's signature trademark anyway.
Right.
So that's what he wanted to do, is to really combine steel, metal, and brick with accents on the angles and the glass.
And he did a nice job on designing this little car out in front, too.
Yes, he did.
It's very handsome. I mean, questions?
I have a couple questions. You're out of Arizona, correct?
Correct.
So your pieces are on display out in their sun outdoors. You haven't had any problems with the finish or anything?
With this, it's a ferric nitrate rust, and then it's oiled. It's a 6-month maintenance on that. Every 6 months, it should be oiled again, and that's a very easy process.
Yeah. And who's going to be
whose
in charge
cost?
of the maintenance?
Dave, well, and I'm out here
That's
quite.
me.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is not.
I have pieces in private collections in Palm Springs, La Jolla, back east, Midwest. I have different kinds of finishes on them. This is the most conducive to these kind of environments.
And tell us the name of the finish again.
It's a rust process using ferric nitrate, which is a chemical process. It's less aggressive than, say, a table salt would be. And then it's that process is stopped with just plain water, and then once it's set in, then I use an oil base, either a linseed oil. In this case, I'm using it's sort of a linseed oil base, but it's got some synthetic properties which hold up better.
And then every 6 months, you have to put more linseed oil or something?
The linseed oil, just re-oiling it brings it back to its luster. It really doesn't change in appearance over a matter of years. I have a few pieces in my backyard that I haven't put oil on in 2 to 3 years, and they look almost identical.
Yeah, how about graffiti, things like that? What can you do on that? I mean, if somebody spray
Shoot the
paints
children.
I just said guns. I said the same.
Yeah,
Take that off.
I've never come in contact with that, so I couldn't answer responsibly on that.
Caretaker with a BB gun.
Okay.
Does this side, the left as I'm looking at it, does that actually touch the ground?
No, it's just off the ground.
That's what I
I
thought.
wonder.
That's great.
It's a very stable piece. The design of it
Isn't
too.
it stunning?
Almost of the weight is
Yes.
carried on the bottom, and it doesn't
Stunning.
move.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And you have people that that have your pieces here in the desert?
I do have some. I have a gallery in La Jolla. Scott White represents me in La Jolla, and I know that I have at least 2 pieces here, but I'm not sure of the client's names.
Beautiful. I like this process. My brain is going around about something else.
Kathy, I heard you say this is art in lieu.
Yes.
So for art in lieu, do we need to be concerned about the maintenance, or is that basically their property? We're just approving that. And what's the process?
We're just approving it. If we approve the art in lieu, it becomes David's property and he is responsible for the maintenance.
Okay.
And so there is no value basically to a collection for public arts at all in that point? In other words, it's not a piece that belongs to the
It
city?
is not owned by the city, no.
Okay.
We
Like the-
list it as part of public art. I mean, it
Like the
would
Bono
be
fountain.
added to our inventory as far as something to see and appreciate, but it is not owned by the city.
The bird, we don't own the bird piece, do we?
No, we do not.
Or the Sunny Bono fountain and so on?
And similar into Sunny Bono, it would be, the fee would be reimbursed back to David, the developer.
So then, if I'm not saying that that could happen, but let's say if you sold a piece of property and the new owners came in and they didn't want to get out there and maintain it every 6 months, and it fell into,
Disrepair.
right, we don't have any recourse whatsoever on that.
I think that there probably is language in the contract when the final contract is produced about new ownership and that sort of thing, and I think we probably face that with the Bird project, and we would use that same sort of language. So if it is sold and goes to a new owner, they would still, it would be their, you know, to their best interest to make sure the piece is maintained.
Okay.
Further questions? Anybody would like to comment on the beauty of the piece? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to accept this as an Art in Lieu project.
I'll second.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Truly beautiful.
Thank you very much. David, I
Can I
think
have
your
the
next...
macchia?
Actually, if we could. Your next step, you will need to take this to the Planning Commission, and probably I would talk to your planner about whether you have to go through the full process or if it's an approval over the counter, and it's primarily for the location of the piece.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? And then I will be in touch with you about the contract and what we do from here.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck. Nice addition to the city.
Thank you.
You got the blanket? Someone?
Now let's talk about the city entry sign.
So just need a moment for to put up the work right here.
Did you see
No. It looks pretty certain. There's a hand mic over there.
Excuse us for the pause.
All the same, it's still what they're doing.
Got the design back again.
We're talking about what just went on. Yeah. I mean, do I have to do the whole? question we have is this art in exchange in lieu of. How do we verify how much the value is?
He has submitted a budget in your packet with the application, and when we work through the contract, that will be part of the contract. And he can only go up to the amount of the art fees he's paid, which is a little over $12,000.
Right, but how do you know that the artist sells for that value?
That you would check through his through his placements and through his gallery.
You probably should have asked him when he was here.
Well, I'm assuming, I don't think he would come before us without having cleared that, and when the contract is actually written, if this submission is for $3,000, obviously that's not going to be accepted.
I think that just what was being talked about, is just like we did with Lundin. You were asking Michael Lundin what his, how do you know what your value of your artwork is? Have you ever sold anything?
Oh, well,
But
he obviously has. I mean, you know
Okay,
what I'm saying? He has a history of having sold. I don't think in Michael's case that he is a, what should we say, practicing artist that is selling his artwork through a gallery or anything else.
And do we, as the commission, do we lean towards in lieu of? I mean, is that a motivation?
No.
Not.
Excuse me, the developer has that option. That's part of the development fee. So any developer can choose to do that based on the amount of fees that he has paid. Can request an art in lieu piece. Whether it's the desire, and it can't, the commission can deny or accept an art in lieu application, much like we did with the Lundin. As you know, there was a long process of reviewing that application.
Right. But I mean, a lot of the thing that happened with Lundin was the process itself. But what I'm looking for is a little guidance for next time when the things comes up. If the location, for instance, on a commercial piece of property, and it's off the beaten path, does the city or the commission lean favorably towards in lieu of? And want to have, you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I think that's.
There's no history of.
No, and I think it's the commission's discretion, basically, as they're reviewing applications. I think what we can do, because we've already moved past that particular item for this application, is put it on again for further discussion, and perhaps get a feel of what this commission's.
Can I put it down there under commissioners' comments and reports and requests and just
Yes.
ask for a clarification? I'll
Yes.
do that. Thanks.
Thank you.
You ready? You ready? Mr. Wexler, you're on.
Should I use this?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello. Well, where we left the project last time, we had proposed the project as a site-specific installation of signage and the adjoining concrete walls and landscaping. And the sign was placed to the northwest of the existing sign. And after some meetings that we had at the site over the summer, we were given a request to relocate the sign to the existing location of the current sign. So this is where the existing sign is.
Gary, excuse us. Your mic isn't on.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So the original presentation that we had made for the design was with our sign located to the northwest of the existing sign location, where we had two curved concrete walls with an inset stainless steel frame with the letter forms on top of the frame. And the concept at that point had been developed to use the open frame within the concrete as a visual statement where it would frame the mountain canyon behind the sign, setting up for a very picturesque scene. The sign was scaled and designed for that site. When we were given new requirements for the location to bring this element of the sign back into the existing location, downsizing the scale of the walls, it opened up a whole new can of worms, which we had to address. The original design of the sign had the open frame. It's about 20-foot span with the letter forms on top, and we had nothing but sky behind us. So we felt that as far as legibility of the sign was not an issue at that time. Now that we've relocated this structure to where the current sign is, we have a palm oasis or a grove of palm trees directly behind. And so we were faced with a situation where the original concept of the sign did not work in this site. So we explored some options on how to increase the legibility of the sign, and one was to place sandblasted glass panels behind the sign to give a backdrop so that the stainless steel letters would have increased legibility. And this still incorporated the opening, which we felt with all the visual clutter of all the palm trees and palm leaves behind it, it wasn't working conceptually. This wasn't working and in order to increase the legibility of the sign. All the things that we had hoped for in the original design, conceptually wise, were gone. And so the solution that we found to this was to change the scale of the sign itself and make it all incorporated within the structure of the concrete wall. And we still have the diffused glass behind the letters. This design solution actually came up, it solved several problems that we were trying to deal with. One was, with this proposal, how do we maintain the structural integrity of the span? And here that problem has been solved. As far as the legibility, we feel that the increased proportions of the letters, we're now brought this out to 25 feet, that the scale helps with the legibility. Having the diffused glass behind it during the daytime will give it a contrasting surface. At night, we'll backlight it, and we're discussing having light channel incorporated into the metal frame so that the letters are illuminated at night from within the frame. Overall, I think the solution came to, this very pleasing visual result from this study. I'm going to let Tom talk about the different landscape aspects that we've adapted to relocating the sign. Tom.
Thank you. My name is Tom Dosey, landscape architect, TKD Associates, Palm Springs. As Gary mentioned, we had a couple challenges here when we worked the new sign program both into the budget as well as the site. And one of the driving forces between the two designs that we originally proposed and this design is that we have a number of service club signs that are incorporated into this first wall. With the quantity of signs that we have, it's a prescribed length that this wall ends up being approximately 50 feet in length. And you can see that here on the site plan. This is Palm Canyon Drive, edge of pavement. This is the right-of-way. So that particular sign has to begin at the edge of right-of-way, and then we run it approximately 50 feet. So our actual entry sign then overlaps that and appears in this location right here. The original sign is exactly at this point here, so we are a little bit west of that, but that was part of our prescribed decision as we were in the field and reviewed it. So with the sign being in this location, what we've done is come up with two different alternatives. One is following the same design program that we originally proposed with the curvilinear walls in this particular design here. The second is to actually take this exhibit here with the sign inset into the wall and create it as almost a freestanding monument, eliminating some of the additional curved wall that we had on both sides. So what we're here for today is to get some direction from the committee on which way to proceed with these designs. One of the other items that we would like to include in the project, and we're in the process of doing our cost estimating, would be a connection walk from the visitor center that would bring visitors to the sign location for photo opportunities, as well as a 12-foot diameter compass plaque area that a person could stand on, and the person then would be led up towards the sign and have a photograph. This would give some descriptions about the city, some directional information, and we could develop some kind of, taking some input from the committee to come up with some text that would be placed into that. This may be bid as an alternate bid item. In terms of the design, we have the existing lawn area. What we're proposing is to come in with a concrete mow band that would separate the actual sign from the turf area. As you know, we have some pretty high winds out in that area, so we want to keep water away from the sign and really create more of a dry area of decomposed granite in front, and then really just accentuate the ends of the signs near the rock outcroppings and some of the other areas with some colorful plants as well as some desert plants. So the concept is to bring the desert from surrounding area in, and it really encompasses with the turf representing the golf courses, the desert plants representing the desert, and then the palms representing the Indian Canyons and Oasis concept. If there's any questions, I think Gary and I would be happy to answer those.
What about visibility from the highway when you come in on 111?
That was one of the things in the original concept. I don't know if you can tell from the site plan that's over on the other board, but the sign was really more over in a direction over to this side. And now by moving the sign back closer to its existing point, here would be the highway. So we have a really good line of sight from the highway to this location.
Have you put like any stakes to show, you know, the beginning and the end of the sign, and then driven it to see at 50 miles an hour? I think that's the speed limit there. When you see it and how long you see it, because there is that hill, there's a certain, it's not a hill, that mound before you come to the sign along 111.
We had talked about some way reducing that little bunker
But
and
we
taking
don't-
some of the fauna that's flora that's growing there, so that you had a better fauna too. But so you would have a better shot when you're coming in.
But we don't have money to do that.
Well, but that could, maybe we could just
And-
go out and do it ourselves.
Yeah, but you don't want to tear up the desert either, because then you leave a scar and something else. I don't know. Have you tried to see it from the highway at 50 miles an hour?
At this point, what we're proposing is a solution to, no, we haven't done that, but the sign is in the exact location of the existing sign. The existing sign is what, a foot off ground?
Okay.
It sits maybe this high. Well, we've
Okay.
elevated the
This-
sign to 7 feet.
To 7 feet, in the
And-
same location?
In the
Well,
same, in the
Not
slightly,
exactly the same.
slightly to the
probably
west.
Yeah, about 15 to 20 feet to the west.
And then you,
So
but
here's the existing location, and this is the new location.
The current sign, which is something we've all talked about in driving out there and on the subcommittee, when you come into town, you don't see that sign until you're on top of it. And so I
That's my
see
point.
Leona's point is, we want to correct that while we have the opportunity. So the fact that you're going up 7 feet will help, because I think, what I'd like to know is there any visibility before you get to that location? In other words, when you're back further up 111 and you're coming in, will you see this rearing up?
By moving it westerly, you will actually get a larger cone of vision, I guess would be the term.
You've actually
Right.
done so.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see it from back up the high. That's what I like better, because it then prepares people the fact that something is going on. Because the entrance sign to the city is back, miles back, in the middle of nowhere. And it says, you know, there's 43,000 people that live here, you're in Palm Springs, and then there's nothing there. Windy Point and everything else comes afterwards. So this actually tells somebody coming in, oh, there's something going on here. And it also is a good entry and notice that there's a visitor center. Because now that as they slow down, they can in fact see, oh, look, there's a sign, something must be going on. Oh, here's a visitor center. So I think it's a multi-purpose thing. Visibility is really important. We're better off visibility-wise than it was on the original.
Yes.
Even with the 50-foot wall, shorter wall coming around?
That was always there.
Right, we actually had a larger wall originally proposed, as you can see in that design. It almost ran the full length of the Oasis and then the sign began.
The sign didn't begin before, Tracy, until you passed the Oasis. It's way over. Now, how much further east is it now than the original proposal?
From the original proposal, we're probably another 60 feet towards the east.
No, the sign that says Palm Springs itself.
From that
From where
proposal.
it used to be to where it's
Oh,
going to end
from-
up.
Okay, from from the existing sign to the new,
No, where your original proposal,
that would be about 60 feet.
from where you had originally
Yeah.
proposed it to where it's now finally going to say Palm Springs.
Right. We've now taken this and brought it over to this direction, which is close to about 60 feet.
More behind that lower wall.
Well, no, it was always behind the lower wall. It's just all moved further east. If you look at
Yeah,
that,
this would be-
that and this are almost identical.
Okay, all right. And have you heard anything, Leo, on the funding for this? I mean, the last time we were talking, wasn't this going to council?
No, we voted on the funding.
No, as a loan, didn't we vote, wasn't it a
Oh,
proposal?
you're talking about that aspect? No.
So, no what? No, it,
No, we have not heard anything.
So what do these changes do to the construction costs?
What was it
Well,
considered?
we did two things. One, as you can see in the original design, the length of the wall was quite a bit more than what we're showing now. So we've reduced both walls in length, both the service club sign wall and the entry sign wall. So that's reduced our cost. We've lessened the cost. We've eliminated the water feature that was part of the original project. That's brought the cost down. So right now we have a budget of approximately $80,000 to work with. With adding the glass panel, that's increased our cost a little bit, but we feel that we can bring it in. What we'd like to be able to do is within our budget, be able to build the sign, and we're looking at two options. One is through a general contractor doing a poured-in-place concrete wall, or actually having a company make a prefabricated wall, deliver it to site, and then construct the sign right on site. And the items that we would like to be able to include in our budget would be the sign, the 12-foot diameter compass, and then actually the walkway back to the visitor center.
That's in the total of approximately 80,000?
Right. We're a little bit above that right now on the final numbers that we just ran the last couple of days, but we need to proceed with those numbers and get some cost estimators to take another look at those. What we would do is we would bid some of these items as alternate bid items.
Has the nature of the compass changed, or is it the original compass that was proposed?
I will let Gary address that. Thank you.
We've simplified it, just because of cost. We weren't really sure what doing metal inlays and things like that might end up costing. So what we've designed is either fabricated out of concrete or terrazzo with the center circular bronze plaque, which will be a welcome to the city and incorporated 1938, some other information. But this portion, we're trying to work it in with the production, the prefab production of the concrete panels. It still serves the purpose that from the original idea, where we were setting up the ideal picture vantage point. People will come, stand on this spot, read the information, and they're set up perfectly to photograph the sign. And Tom has strategically placed some boulders to the side of it, perfect for sitting, for groups to sit on off to the side. Also, one thing Tom did mention is that he'll be reworking the palm grove behind the sign. We'll be moving the palm trees around, putting them in position so that we will have a view of the mountain ridge behind, and just compose those trees for the perfect picture. One other thing that I forgot to mention is that by incorporating the diffused glass with the metal, it's also familiar to what's going on with the Frey building, with the work there. So we've got a common theme, a common palette of materials between this project and the visitor center.
Will the compass include any, there won't be any surface color to it. If you do color on the compass, it'll be embedded in the concrete? Because we're very sensitive to, if you have that much traffic, which we would expect, that's going to start fraying and come off.
It's going to be cold then.
Cool. How about zoysia grass?
No, it'd be either colored concrete or terrazzo. I'm curious.
Good. I wouldn't want it like in a matter of 5 or 10 years. That used to say something, or it used to be a compass, but now it's.
Well, it'll be concrete elements, colored concrete, and one of the things with prefabricating it is they would be able to work drainage into it so that we keep water off of the surface, and the bronze plaque would have some kind of grade to it so the water flows right off.
Is that the color that it would be up on top?
We brought a couple different samples here of some colors. Our initial proposal was to do a natural gray concrete with a sandblast finish, which would be represented by these two type of sand samples here. This would give you an indication of the glass material that would be behind the sign. And this is another concrete finish that can be done. So if it is poured in place on site, we'd be looking more towards a more rustic type of finish because of the forming and sandblasting of the sign. If it's prepared within a shop and brought out as a panelized or prefab construction, we could get more of a finish in this direction. And any of these colors can be done with this same type of finish. So in other words, we could have a native or a natural brown color with a sandblasted finish.
And the metal is?
The metal is a brushed aluminum,
Color?
similar to the sign above the city hall as you enter
The color
council
is-
chambers.
What color?
Like a silver gray naturalized.
It looks it looks dark here, that's why I asked.
Yeah, it's hard to represent it on the, we might have some better photos that we could pass around.
Well, do you have a preference on the finish, or is a lot of that being dictated by cost? Because the one looks very slick, the other looks very natural.
Yeah, I think we would prefer more of a natural finish, that it does have some texture to it.
Whatever the color.
Right, whatever the color. We're open for direction from the committee, on some of the color. I think what we'd like to do today is if we could get some direction on the sign, then we could bring back an actual materials board, have some materials prepared by the manufacturer, and bring that back with an actual color sample and the letters.
One direction I can give you on behalf of the commission is the monetary amount.
Okay.
Because we can't,
Right.
It's really nice, and for only another 10 or 15,000 we can do A, B, or C. We can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was
pretty much
clear. And
where we
what
are.
we want to try to do is get as much bang for our buck as we can, and really have a complete project out there without having to, cut it in half.
Leona?
Can you refresh my memory? It seems to me we've already paid something as far as design on this, haven't we? Something, a number like that sort of sticks in my head.
Yes, the design contract fee is $12,900.
So we've
which
already
is
paid
what
that.
we're paying the design team, TKD and Associates, to design this new sign, but also to get us to, which is what you're sort of approving today, to get us to the construction bid process.
So we're really
Because-
talking 92,000, not 80,000.
Yes, but we knew that. I mean, that was agreed.
That was,
when-
that was in the original, yeah, when we
Correct.
passed the,
So what we're trying to do is move forward with your approval with this concept and to get to the construction documents so that he can prepare the documents in order for us to then bid the project as a city project.
So not to sound repetitive, because I missed a meeting, so maybe I missed something.
Yes.
Okay, the last time that we discussed this, when I was present, is that we came up with an idea to make a no interest, no payment back to the city to repay public arts. The meeting that I missed, did that change and come back that we're paying for this?
no. We have asked the city to repay us. I don't think that we ever, the contention was ever that we won't do this unless the city repays us. We have asked them to repay us.
And they haven't responded.
They have not responded, and I think I could understand that with everything that's been
So am
going
I-
on.
Okay, so then am I correct to assume that what we're saying is if the city decides not to repay public arts, that we're going to pay for this project
Correct.
out of our funds?
Correct,
I never remember ever approving that.
yes,
And
that's what we approved.
so that was the meeting that I missed, that we did a,
I don't recall whether you were here or not, but that is what we,
okay.
it was not contingent on, that fact was brought up. How about the city repaying us for this? Because of a lot of reasons, because one, it was a surprise and so on and so forth.
Right.
And we requested the city in a very nice letter, which they've had for a period of time, but I think with the election
September 9.
process and everything, that what we're doing is requesting it. But we're not saying, if you don't do this, we're not going to build the sign. The sign became our,
Okay.
the sign became our task.
Really? No, okay, I misunderstood this.
Did anybody else
No,
misunderstand?
I remember when we voted for it, I remember that when we voted for the 80,000, it was our strong feeling that we'd like to have it reimbursed to us and treated as a loan, but that we could not require that happen, so we just
Yeah,
put out
that was
the
exactly right.
request, agreed that we wanted to move forward with this, and that was it.
Any other clarification on that?
Well, I want to go down and drive that road at 50 and see, are you moving land? Are you doing grading, additional grading?
There is some grading involved, but that would be more site-specific at the sign location. Again, if we get into some larger scale grading, then the cost, of course,
Would go up.
goes up.
Right.
Right. And that was our intent, too. I think really what we're here for today is to get some consensus on the actual design of the sign, which would be number one, taking the letters from the top and actually insetting them into the sign itself. And then what we would do, once we have a consensus on the design, we will go out and have that sign actually staked for you, and that you could review the location of
I'd
it.
like to really see that, to see how effective it is, because we have been through so much for years on this sign. It has gone on for years and years, and meetings, and we had proposals
Advisory
from all
committees.
around the world
Right.
on this, and some very heated discussions, and we took a lot of heat, and we backed off and didn't do anything. And so that's why we'd like to be sure that the community is behind us and that we can defend what we might be doing and feel really good
Right.
about it.
I believe that when we did go out to the site with this subcommittee, when was that? Several months ago.
Not that long.
It was very clear that we couldn't go past beyond a certain point on where the sign was proposed originally to where it's being moved back to now. So that had to be a concern.
Go back
that it had to be
toward the
moved.
highway.
Yes.
Move it east.
Actually moved east back to almost where the existing sign is today. We don't own the land to the west.
No, I know that, yeah.
Okay.
I realize that, but we're going to be connected to the visitor center,
But,
say with a pathway
but through the
or
backside,
something,
from
through
the
back
western
and
touch.
around
Yeah.
pathway.
That is
So, are we
our,
responsible for the pathway?
no, we are not.
Well, we
We would
are and
like-
we aren't. I mean, part of your proposal is costing of the pathway.
What we found in our last meeting was based on the visitor center budget, there weren't funds available to create this link. Since there's no parking at this location and people do like to use this for a photo opportunity, it's desirable to have the parking occur at the visitor center where there is a parking lot, and then provide some pedestrian access from that to the sign itself. It's just a safe.
We are not providing parking here. That's a very
What
key
will
factor.
happen to that blacktop that is there now, or that
It's there.
it's really a bad area
We
that's
don't-
there now? What
We-
will happen to it?
We don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. Your car almost fell in one of those holes there.
The reason we asked Tom is to design that back pathway, so to speak, at a separate cost, is so that we can work with the visitor center in creating that link.
I know, but my question is, what will happen to that area now where people put their cars? How is it going to look?
Well, right now, I mean, what we would propose to do is to develop or come in with like a seed mix, other than landscaping it and irrigating it, which would be way beyond the cost that we have allocated in our budget. The best solution would be to renaturalize it as much as possible through a seed mix, some watering of that, and to renaturalize it back to desert. There could be some rock work placed there, boulders, to kind of inhibit people from parking there, but.
There's no tar there.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
just
but
a bare desert
There is a
area.
parking place
It's,
with,
it's a parking place that is like a rut formed in a path. It's happened.
well, that's what I'm saying. Is it going to be there like that, which will
Well,
detract
that's what I
from
think
the
Tom's
beauty?
addressing.
I don't know if we.
We're trying to discourage
Desert.
people from parking there. And that's where we think this tie-in with the visitor center, they'll see that there's a visitor center, there's parking available there. Some people may pull off the road into the desert as they do now, but it is not a legal ingress and egress
That's
from
the key thing, and
Caltrans.
we're trying to we want to sort of discourage it. So I think that whatever amount of landscaping or changing that happens there to discourage it is better, because otherwise we start dealing with right-of-way and egress from the highway, and what's there right now is not legal.
But it doesn't look good.
Well-
And it will detract from the whole thing.
It also is dangerous. I mean, because suddenly you're driving like, oh, and you slam on your brakes to pull in, and we want to discourage that.
I think what will help slow traffic down eventually is that the visitor center is working on signage with Caltrans to indicate that you are approaching visitor center within so many feet, so many miles, or whatever. So that is going to help, and that will create the link to have people park at the visitor center and then hopefully walk over to the sign.
In following through with what Leona's brought up, can we encourage you to go into the camouflage business? You know, in other
No, I
words,
think-
discourage
Absolutely.
the ingress from there and to go past it.
And it may
To the
be,
center.
again, the budget really drives the design here. And so our main focus is on the sign itself. I think if we have extra dollars that are left over once this goes to bid, we would look at that area. It might be a solution of just some boulder placement along the edge of the right-of-way there to discourage people from driving in there. Legally, you could not place those boulders up near the edge of the pavement to stop people from driving in, but once you're behind that Caltrans right-of-way, then we have a little bit more leeway, but it becomes a whole nother state issue at that point.
Not to be corny, but we're in a rock and a hard place.
Right.
Are there ways that you could make it obvious that there's a pathway from the visitor center? I mean, the only thing that comes to mind for me is lights, you know, like path lights.
in part of our budget crunching, it would be great to light the pathway. I don't think at this time we have the funds to do that.
Tom?
No, and it's not open in the evenings.
That's what I was, yeah.
But I'm just saying, is there some way, and that was the only thing that came to my mind, is there
Candle.
some way to make it clear that there is a pathway, so people
That I
say,
think could be
oh,
marked.
if I go just a little further, I see there's a pathway to backtrack.
Tom, do you remember when we had the meeting out there, one of the things we talked about, and I'm not trying to spill the beans on TV, but we talked about DWA and perhaps
Right.
the Living Desert and trying to do something cooperatively?
I think
with
the
that
visitor center
pathway.
is probably, they are working on it. That is part of their plan. But we, that's a little longer range plan, and to what degree DWA will be involved at this point, we're not sure.
Right now, you give everybody a machete and tell them.
And I think, to answer your question, I mean, it will be our desire at some point to create that and to work with the visitor center to do that linkage and that pathway, and to indicate on both sides from the visitor center that there is a pathway leading to the sign and from the sign leading to the visitor center. But for right now, for our purpose, it is not in our budget to do that.
Right now, if somebody wants to go from the sign to the center, or the center to the sign, can they?
They would basically, yes, walk through more open desert.
A nature walk.
A nature walk,
Yeah,
right.
but I mean, they don't have to go out on the highway and risk
No.
their life.
No, it's pretty easy. I mean, you put hiking boots on, you wouldn't need hiking boots,
But people are less likely to do that than they are to pull in front of the sign if it's obvious there's not a walkway.
What the goal between the visitor center and the sign project is to develop this area as more of an informative nature trail type area, and that's where the DWA assistance would come in. That has not been approved, so really this project is pretty much a standalone project, as is this project. But long range, absolutely, we'd like to see these two work together. And again, it's our goal to discourage people from parking here and really take advantage now of the visitor center. And I think when this wall happens and the changes here and this is opened up a little bit more, people will begin to see that.
And the signage will start further back up 111, is that correct? Mr. Raymond?
Mr. Chairman, I believe, well, I think right now there's a sign somewhere in here. This is the wall, the northernmost wall of the visitor center, and there's one here that tries to catch, well, it's somewhere in here, and it tries to catch people to make that right turn there. We're working with Caltrans. We have to, just like everybody else, we have to apply through Caltrans to get the visitor center sign. There's one down closer to the current visitor center that we're going to be relocating up here, and we're going to put a temporary banner on the building itself for a month or so until we resolve what's going to happen with the signage on the building. But the notion that the signage for the visitor center is going to slow traffic is a little bit true. It is wishful thinking. It's slightly true. What's really going to slow traffic is there's going to be a light installed at Gateway Drive because they're building Mountain Gate on the northeast corner of that intersection.
How much further north is that light going to be?
It's right about here. I mean, it's pretty close to the end of the property. We don't have a.
That's good.
We don't have a.
That'll
but
slow them down.
It's it's somewhere in here, and because if you remember when we were standing here at the Grove, and you could look over and you could see them grading, and so I think Gateway Drive is right about here. So now when the light's green, people are going to blow through it at 50 or 60 or whatever they drive, but there's enough, and just having a light there, even if it's green, people will go slower through there.
Mm-hmm.
But we, part of the design and part of our dealing with the designers, all along, at least for the last several months, is the idea that we don't want, because if you remember, the original design had an automobile circulation area. I mean, where you could pull in. And what we didn't want to do was take a very informal driveway right now that, you know, it's probably not permitted, you know, by Caltrans and formalize it, and then have to go through the encroachment process with Caltrans and potentially have to do a deceleration lane for, you know, 1,300 feet or something like that, where suddenly this is now a $1 million project. I mean, that was not the intent. So the designers have been given the direction that we don't want parking here, and it just, you know, coincided with the development of the visitor center. All of the parking for the visitor center is going to be here. We still have to get people from here to here, and that really means this area here. And the water agency is not. They're not going to do this. We got a letter this week that says they're not going to pay for that, but we still have to do it. And so we're back. We're going to be back, probably talking to the city. We're not looking to the Arts Commission to fund that. We don't think this is really, you know, art. This part here, this part is, but this part is really, you know, landscaping and trails and that sort of thing. So there's a couple of other potential sources that we have other than the city itself.
Is there much visibility as you come around there of the visitor center? Will you see the roof line?
You start seeing the roof line back here. I mean, actually what you see first is you actually see the back of the building. It's just the way the road curves, and then the building disappears, and then you see the side of the building, and then, you know, when you come by it, you actually see the front. But it's really a pretty interesting experience, and next time you're driving it, you know, just watch for that. But you really, you know, way back, a mile or so back, you're actually looking at, you know, this side of the building itself, and then the road kind of sweeps around, and then you catch this side, and then ultimately the front of the building. And
Because the only reason I ask it is because in moving some of the grove and the trees, if there's a way of saying, oh, this gives us more view and less this, and, you know, it doesn't obstruct the visual of the roof line or whatever, so that they see something's going on there.
you know, this idea, either of these ideas where the sign is, you know, up 7 feet and then with the glass, the idea, you know, the sun is behind this all day. I mean, in the morning and in the evening, and that glass should have a good shimmer to it. And then, like they were talking about lighting it at night, that's really going to pop at night, and it's going to be really striking. And one of the interesting things about it, and I think Gary talked about it, is that it's what we're doing at the visitor center itself. In back of the building where the bathroom building is right here, and it's a building that's right under this word visitor. And the pathway from the parking lot to the front of the building itself kind of walks right by the front of the bathroom building, and they put a glass panel with 5.5 foot frosted glass panels there with the signage on that.
It says toilet.
And it says men's, women's. No, it says visitor center, and again backlighting that at night. It's going to have very much a lantern effect, and that should be quite striking, you know, at least from that view there. And so they're picking up that element from here.
Sounds good.
And you know, reproducing it down here as part of this.
Would any of you like to comment on the two alternatives?
Well, I will.
I have very strong feelings
I
about
do
it.
too. And I like the signage itself a lot better this way. I like the one on the left because I think it fits more with the mountains, because the mountains don't have these sharp corners. There's no right angle on the mountain. Yeah, I like this one a lot
I
better.
agree. Leona, Beth, Lori, Trace?
I like the one on the left.
I like the one on the left just for the same reasons you've expressed. My only concern is that I suspect it's going to be less visible than the one that's raised higher, because the one on the right appears to be raised higher.
No, they're the same, aren't they?
They're
They're actually the same height.
Oh, they just didn't bring that.
Right.
Okay, I see.
This is more,
Optical
this is
illusion.
almost identical to the original design,
Right,
just condensed.
And not confusing the issue, there is one third alternative that I'll point out real quickly.
Don't do the sign.
This. In our original design, you can see that the wall sloped up to the sign and then was truncated at that point. And in looking at this first design, what we may be able to do is bring this and then end this here and then bring our berm up and do some mounding at that point.
I would again have the same comment about the right angles.
Right, that's what would happen. This would,
Yeah,
it would be similar to how we ended this
I like-
version here.
I actually prefer this.
Okay.
I don't know. What,
Is the berm behind the sign, or is it the sign part of the berm?
The actual wall of the sign will die into the berm, so the
The
berm is in
on
front.
both ends.
Right, and the
So
berm
it
wraps
goes
around.
into it.
And again, that was a way we could reduce some of the length of the wall and incorporate it into a landform.
Yeah, I like the one on the left myself, because I like the way that it kind of overshadows the smaller wall with all of the service plaques on it. I'm kind of looking
Yeah.
at that standpoint.
the Palm Springs seems to rise in back of that, which I think is good, instead of just featuring the clubs.
And in terms of visibility too, the existing sign is about the height of what we're showing the service club signs at right now. So really, by, as Gary mentioned, coming up, we're, at about 7 feet is quite a bit higher than the original sign.
Just a piece of information, is there a font name for this? Or is it just something you, in your artistic
No, it's
endeavor,
a-
sketched?
It's a standard font, Futura.
It is Futura. There's a lot of emotion about the font.
Well, from the very first presentation that we made to the committee, the reference for choosing a typographic style was what's on the city hall. We wanted, and although there's some variance from what's on the city buildings, the sense of modernism to the sans serif font was consistent. So that's what directed us in this direction here.
Yet what's there is not a consistency other than in time. What's there went up overnight and people adopted it. So now we're faced with a new font. We wanted some words in case we need to defend it.
I have one other comment about the smaller of the walls, which holds all of the service club signs, that I believe we are going to request for all new signs
Yeah, my
to be
next
made.
question. Good.
We will be preparing some specs for the
Wonderful.
construction so that we have some
Wonderful.
size conformity, that we have them all on a similar material, which we plan to mount peg them off the surface of the concrete.
They can use their own. I mean, like Rotary can be, and Kiwanis or
Yes,
whatever can use the
and-
colors
and-
that they have.
Yes, and I think that we're asking them to be responsible for providing us with those signs.
Oh, yes. Was there any doubt?
And one last feature that we haven't concluded a position for would be some kind of dedication plaque. And at some point while we're going into working drawings, I hope you would discuss that and what content you would want on that.
Something simple, modest, and as long as you spell our names
Easily
right.
maintained.
There's no
Okay.
water anywhere where the sign is. No
We're
sprinkler.
a little, we're very sensitive to that.
Yes, no sprinklers that can corrode the aluminum or.
Actually, with the introduction of the glass panel, we had talked
further
about how
protects it.
that kind of gives that similar effect that the water would have, what we were trying to achieve in the first design.
And we're okay as far as sand, blow sand, as far as the glass?
It'll be, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the glass itself will be sandblasted, so.
We got there first.
Right.
Okay. I think we need to call for the question if there is no other discussion.
Before Before you do this, I'd like to make a comment. If there's anything else that we need to decide, could we do it so we don't have to go through this for an hour and a half every time they come back? I mean, if we need to select colors of concrete, et cetera, can we do that now? And make whatever they have to do when they come back very simple?
It's fine with me, but are you prepared to give us color selections and finish? I mean, are you going to be able to cost that? You seem to think there was a big cost difference between having it fabricated in a shop and having it done there.
Actually, having it fabricated on site and in the shop, the costs were pretty close to being the same. We feel that being done in a shop would have a little bit better control over the actual finished product.
Having it done in the shop.
Right.
Can we get that rough finish in the shop?
You can get the rough, yeah, this rough finish here was prepared in the shop.
Oh, okay, because I thought you said that it would be smooth if they did it in the shop.
Yeah, they can do this in the shop
Either way.
as well, either way, correct. So we would just specify if we wanted a certain integral color into this, we would specify, say for instance, this color with this type of finish.
Now, as the designers, and in order to do that, are you prepared to give us choices? Because for us to sit here as your request and say, well, we'd like that, but with a little more apricot or a little less brown or something else, I think we actually need to see, here's your choice. And
Right.
Smooth or rough, we can come up with, but here's your choice on colors. And how will it also relate to the compass?
Correct.
You don't want a melange of every kind of color in the rainbow.
I think we would like to bring that back if we could. It wouldn't have to be a long meeting, and I think we'll have the samples, the letter, and then you can see a complete composition for approval.
Also, I think we can help expedite it by having the subcommittee sort of review it first and then bring it back for
Happy
the full
to.
commission's vote.
Right.
Happy.
Good idea.
In fact, we could do that with much of the issues remaining. I think today we just really need you to approve the concept, this new concept design, and then they can move forward with the construction documents.
Is there anyone that feels strongly about the one on the right? So when in voting for this, I think we're talking about the one on the left.
Okay.
Do we have a motion? Leona? You have a look on your face
I'm very uncomfortable
about the visibility.
without knowing exactly where and the visibility from the road. I don't know, maybe nobody else is.
No, I think we all feel that way because, as I said, when you drive there now, you can't see it until you're on top of it.
And I'm uncomfortable putting this kind of money into it without a real plan for what's going to happen to that area out in front. I just hate that area, you can tell that, where they put the cars. And this is a beautiful plan, we're spending a lot of money, and, you know, you want it to be nice in front of that. And so
There isn't, at this
concern.
point, I understand your concern, but I think that we need to perhaps look at that separately, and there's not a lot we can do because we don't own the site, number one, and it is a Caltrans decision. It would be through their process, which if we had to go through that at this point, we could be here for a long time.
We do not have the ability to block some of that access, or we do? I don't know. First, what I'm hearing is we can't actually do it because it's illegal to have that entrance. But if we try to block the entrance, that's illegal because it doesn't belong to us. I'm not clear on that.
Well, just having a sign that says access through visitor center just before you get there, I'm sure would handle it, but isn't that what John is working on with the Caltrans?
But I think they're gonna go, I don't think they're gonna pay a lot of attention to that. I mean, I think if they see that they can pull off, they're gonna pull off.
And I think for the sake perhaps of this time, I think if we can look at approving what we need to approve for the sign and move forward on the agenda and perhaps bring that back as a separate discussion item. And I can actually talk to planning and see what really the legalities are of that, because we're getting into an area that I'm not real familiar with, and I don't have any clear answer, I can tell you, that would make sense. I mean, I can make something up, but that wouldn't be right.
At the last meeting out there, I know there was great concern expressed by Doug Evans, et cetera, that the less we try to make this something that it is, the better off we are, because we're going to run into huge problems and money and access and deceleration lanes and millions of dollars. So what we want to do is discourage it. The thing that I'm more concerned about with Leona is the visibility of the sign itself.
And the aesthetics of the whole thing. You can't separate that one part out, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'm in the minority, and so be it, but I feel that you cannot separate the aesthetics of that area there, which is not pretty, and then have something that is
Of course,
attractive.
I will say one thing, Leona, a lot of people for a lot of years are thrilled with that sign.
No,
As unattractive as it is in front of it, the sign
They don't
itself,
mind the-
they don't look to that. I understand exactly. I mean, I'd love it if there were some beautiful oasis in front of that's with the sign in back of it, would be gorgeous. But I don't know if we can. I don't know that we can accomplish that now. I think what we need to do is okay the concept of the sign, with the caveat that and our wishes that you come back to us with some ideas of making that less accessible and prettier.
I think if you do that,
Yes,
the problem is they're getting into an area that is not part of their contract, and it'll affect the budget. And those are two things that you don't want to do. I mean, the commission has already stated early on the desire to keep the budget at what it is right now.
Leona, I really want to address the legibility issue, because I'm on the same page with you, because if the sign is not legible, we failed. And what we have done with this design proposal is we've taken the set of limitations put before us. We have an exact site where we have to put this sign, and we've got the aesthetics of the design to where everyone has agreed upon it. And as far as with that particular site, now maximizing the height to keep it within a human scale so it doesn't become a billboard, so it doesn't become an imposing concrete wall. We want to make it a site experience as much as a legible sign announcing the entrance to the city. So with what we've proposed, I feel like working within our budget constraints, we've maxed out the size of the letters, the steel work, the metal work that'll be done, the amount of concrete that is proper with these limitations. I think that as far as with any instructions, well, how do we maximize the legibility down the road as you approach? How can we do that even more than what we've already proposed to you? I would not recommend increasing the size of the wall, the height of the wall. If it's a matter of changing the grade, so we raise the whole thing up 6 feet or something like that, maybe that's a solution, but then we're opening up a situation where, well, then are we blocking the palm grove behind it? Are we blocking the view of the visitor center?
And it's not people friendly when you do this.
So I just want you to know that as in our meetings, trying to come to a solution with relocating the sign to this position, that those issues of legibility have been right on the front.
Yeah.
And it is
Thank you.
infinitely better than what it is now, as far as legibility is concerned.
That was pretty much the reason, as Gary said, we went through this whole process, because we, as a committee and the design team, had a concern about that legibility. Back to that area, that disturbed area, you know, we'll go back and restudy that and take a look and see what we can do. I mean, one solution might be, if it's within our budget, that we might, and I'm not trying to increase maintenance for the city, but one of the simplest things would to be, again, either renaturalize it with a wildflower mix and try to piggyback off the irrigation system that's out there to give some supplemental water and begin to let some of the desert plant material grow up, or increase the lawn area that's out there and just turn those half heads into full heads and turf that area, and you'd have a larger lawn, front yard lawn type look coming up to the sign.
To improve the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Right. It would at least cover up that bare dirt.
Other questions? We need to vote and move on. Beth, Janice, Harry, Tracy.
No, the only thing I wanted to say is I think that you gentlemen have done a great job, and I think the designs are really nice, and I love the one on the left. The only thing that I have a problem with and still sticks into my throat is that we're paying for it. And I just want to be on record that I don't think we should be in that location. I don't think that the Public Arts Commission should be footing the bill for it, but we didn't have too much choice, evidently. But that's the only thing that I have a problem with.
We've been down that lane.
Mhm. But
We either are in that position or we don't get the sign for a long time.
Okay.
I mean, I think I'm stating it as simplistically as possible.
I'd like to move to approve the design on the left with the proviso that they are going to give some attention to the front area, as Leona had asked.
And I'll second it.
And with coming back to us with color and final selection, et cetera. We don't want little round pebbles. Do I hear a second?
It's Tracy
Tracy
seconded.
seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Bless your hearts. Thank you. It's beautiful. It's actually, I think, going to be better than the original. Hmm?
Next item on the agenda.
Are we, Kathy? Did you say you're on the agenda?
No, it's the next item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Fowler?
Fortunately,
Laurie, will you take over a minute? Will you take over a minute? Just take over a minute. I'll be right back. Laurie's got it ready first.
I wish I only worked 6 months. Thank you.
I'll leave you a couple extra too.
Thank you. You can just give this to Paul.
Okay.
Leo has taken a break for a minute. I'm Lori Wiegand, I'm co-chair, and he asked that I continue, so I'll go ahead and turn it over. The next on the agenda is chairman of the Lynx, so welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today. Good evening, almost. It's getting dark out. As you know, the chairman of the Lynx has been downtown at the Wellwood-Bury Library, Memorial Library, for almost a year now. And what I'm proposing is that the commission and the city take a look at adding the chairman of the Lynx to their permanent art collection. And I think that maybe that had been known in the background for a little while. But what I'm asking, and I could actually read through this quickly if it would help. This proposal is respectively submitted to the City of Palm Springs Art and Public Places Council members and to the residents of our community. Simply put, this is a proposal for the City of Palm Springs and the Public Art Commission to purchase the bronze sculpture Chairman of the Lynx as a permanent addition to the city's growing and significant public art collection. Excuse me. The life-size bronze image of a gentleman golfer of yesteryear is a truly fitting image for our desert community, and he has stood excuse me, proudly in front of the historic Wellwood Murray Memorial Library downtown Palm Springs for nearly a year now. And feedback has all been very positive and supportive from local residents and our visitors alike. In parentheses, even to the point of someone wanting a part of the sculpture so badly to add to their own private art collection that they took the bronze golf club, which I have then replaced with the same a few months back at my own expense. The bronze sculpture is a very limited edition piece, signed by me, Jeffrey A. Fowler, dated 2000, and numbered 1 of 9. Now comes the good part. The price of the Chairman of the Lynx to the city of Palm Springs is $50,000. Now, I am open to an extended payment agreement to be made, say over a 12-month period, to allow the commission to align these costs into their yearly budget. One possible option could be to schedule a payment of $12,500 every quarter or 3-month period, starting this November and ending next fiscal year of 2004, again helping to offset the purchase price. And then I wish to thank you all for your time and serious consideration. But I know the chairman loves being downtown and greeting all who pass by of him. He's been, I know he's been well loved, and I've seen a lot of people taking photo ops. I do like his location on the disc-shaped round pedestal. And so oftentimes when I go down and rub on him and polish him or doing any maintenance, I always have people walking up and saying, who is he supposed to be? Is he Bing Crosby? Is he this person? Is he that? And really just because of the smirk in his face and this friendly gesture through his body, he just has been a very wonderful, brings a lot of smiles to people, and I've seen that quite often.
Leo, you just missed, Jeffrey just made a presentation on a proposal for the
Chairman.
City and the Arts Commission to consider purchasing the chairman of the Lynx at a cost of $50,000. So, at this point, I guess, do we open this to discussion?
I have a couple of questions.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know the history of this piece. Who paid for it to begin with?
It's on loan by me to the city and has been down at its location for since last December.
The contract actually expires December 1st.
Correct. And that's why I'm presenting this to you folks now at this time.
Had it been brought to the Public Arts Commission
Yes.
to begin with, and they had
Yes.
said that they would not
No.
be willing to pay?
It was just on
No, it was
loan.
never offered.
It was an
for sale.
empty pedestal downtown. I thought, what a wonderful place to put the chairman. And so we went through the process of voting him in for a year's period on loan by me. And so we're coming to that end now. And this is just a thought that I had that he's a great piece down there. And I thought, because of the state of everything, why don't we consider at least taking a look at offsetting that cost over a period of time, and maybe even, bridging a couple-year period, saying from from 2003, 2004, and being able to at least sit around the table, talk about this as being a new piece, a new part of the permanent art collection of Palm Springs.
I guess I just have a comment, and I know you kind of keep up on some of the things that go on with the Art Commission, but right now we're kind of, as you may know, in a budget crisis ourselves.
Correct.
And committed to several projects, including completing and doing the unveiling event for Chihuly, and as well as this signage project that we were committed to. So, I mean, my feeling is that before we make a decision on something this big, we probably ought to get some updated figures from Kathy and John.
It's on the
for
agenda.
budget. Okay.
I think we're premature, if you don't mind, because we know your intention and what you would like for us to do. And I think what we need to do is look at our numbers and figures. We need to decide what else the demands are on our funds, and then we'll get back to you.
Maybe I should extend this then in an ad lib at this point in time, even though I didn't involve it with the proposal, because we are coming up to that date again of December 1st at the date of
Exactly.
Even though I think it was probably around the 7th or 9th or around that period when we finally got him installed last year. I'd rather have him up than taking him down. So to maybe just put this all in a nutshell, would the chair people and the commission want to see the piece up for an extension of time while you consider what to do with it and what to do with me and with the Feast Downtown? Because I think he looks wonderful. I know he's had great response. And maybe if I could just kind of squeeze that in the short few minutes we have left.
Yes, if I could just, for your all consideration, I think timeline for budget reviews and when we have to start looking at next year, perhaps, for funding projects, we will be starting that sometime in January. So if that gives you a time frame to consider Mr. Fowler's suggestion of extending the contract, you can keep that date in mind. I mean, and that will take a month or two.
Did you have a time frame in mind, or you're sort of saying to us, extend it until such time as we can make the decision logically?
I'd like to, yeah, as what Kathy was just saying. Why don't we just leave him and his location, and at a convenient time when you have your, ducks in order and the budget in your mind, just to consider this as being something that, may happen this coming year. I just would like to see him, stay in his place. It would be a shame to just have an empty pedestal there. I know.
It's really wonderful that you're willing to put your artwork up
Here,
there.
here.
until we get
free.
Our budget all squared away. So
Well, I know
think
that, and that's why
part's
I-
really wonderful.
Well, thank you. That's why I kind of mentioned too, because I know the situation. I've been down here in Palm Springs for 16 years. And I do know the ebb and flow of how things are and how they've worked. I've tried to help too with the pieces that are in the city's permanent collection. But just to kind of throw it on the table, I don't mind, financing, the long term through the Jeffrey A. Fowler Finance Corporation. But I would really love to see a piece like this continue to stay where he is. And I'm open for any ideas that come in our next meetings in time.
Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that you brought us your proposal and that we actually have an amount of money that you would require and that we have time to study it. Oftentimes, we come to the meetings and something is thrown at us like this, and we have to make a decision. And I thank you for not pushing us into a decision-making thing that we can't possibly make a decision on now.
Not a good decision.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do have
Really
one
nice.
quick question, Jeffrey.
Mm-hmm.
What was your original plan when you loaned this piece?
It was actually,
was
this
it
is
to take it
something I
down?
had mentioned. Maybe it was in the table as well. But it was on loan for the 12-month period. And we have a $1 million liability coverage policy on it, which I will have to deal with and extend so we don't let that lapse. We will talk about that.
Yes.
But I really had mentioned maybe that I would like to see this piece become part of the, the art collection of Palm Springs.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. I hope that answered your question.
You have
did.
very nicely and very graciously, thank you. And we will get back to you as quickly as possible. I think our intention is, if you would do that, is to extend it until such time as we can, do you want to put a finite date? Or do you want to just
No,
say
actually, if
as
I-
of the review process?
If I can review a couple of things and perhaps next meeting bring back a more definitive date on the extension of the contract, but I will work with you, Jeffrey, on that.
Because we're approaching that this
Yes, and
coming
also
3-4
a
weeks.
suggestion on the insurance as well, so if we can bring that back.
Could we give them some kind of a timeline for the decision on the commission itself in regards to a purchase, like maybe March or April or something like that? Wouldn't that be something to consider?
Well,
Instead of just leaving it out there hanging to nowhere?
Well, that's why I brought that up.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have to be able to get together as a commission and look at the budget and figure it all out. So it's a matter of January or February. There's a lot going on.
You want to
As you
say
had
6
mentioned.
months? Would 6 months be viable? I mean, in January, we have the art show, and usually that's our meeting,
And at either the end of the month or beginning of the month is the Chihuly
right.
unveiling.
So what about asking for a 6-month extension? Is that viable?
Is that too long for you? Would you like something sooner?
Well,
March
as
or
it
April?
is, and the Art Commission last year reimbursed the costs for the insurance to be in place for the piece to be down, town. Renewal is for a year, which covers ongoing works that I've also done for the city, as when we did the JFK image in the median. Bless you. So putting a number of months, I'd like to say, yeah, you've got it for 2.5 more months and that's it. But we can put, if it's comfortable, we'd say, sure, we'll address this no later than March.
Yeah.
On the agenda, once again, but you and I will have to talk.
Does the insurance?
It's a 12-month period.
So the insurance would be
It
paid
will also be lapsing this coming
December
December
1st,
as
so
well.
then you have to take out how expensive is the insurance?
It was under,
It
I
was
ran
just under
$1,000.
$1,000.
Well,
Well, if you.
let's be fair.
We would have it, if we owned it, it would be under our blanket insurance. It's not a separate policy. If the city owned it?
Yes, when the
Okay,
city owns
so
the
then
piece, it
if-
becomes,
Just say that in theory, if we purchased it at a certain point prior to the year ending, you get reimbursed for, usually on insurances, they give you prorated for the year
Could do that. It could happen.
after the fact.
If this were to be something that would be embraced by the commission before, say, the fiscal year of ending December 31st, and you were to do that, I could see being able to probably slide it in prior to the end and not having to renew the $1,000
See, my
insurance
thought would
fee.
be that we really can't think about this until March.
Right.
right.
And so my thought would
Exactly.
be that we give him, say that we'll consider it during the month of March, provided we have all our figures, but no later than the month of June.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And actually, that would tie in with the fiscal year, which ends June 30th. But, and perhaps the commission would like to consider going ahead and approving the reimbursement to Jeffrey for the insurance, because it actually served a purpose. When he worked on the JFK piece, we did not have to go out and get separate insurance. And I anticipate, I believe, going to Jeffrey for other conservation work on some of the other pieces, probably in the next several months.
And I've been climbing on Frank Bogart.
And that just works out to our
Charlie
advantage.
I think that's a good idea.
We only did down to about here, Frank, but at least we got some of the guano.
So should
Take care
we
of.
have a
Thanks.
motion that
Yes,
the commission would pay
Yes.
for the insurance?
Pay back the insurance, and why don't we just make it one motion and to extend this until June, so that we have a time.
Or even before, if we
timeframe.
could do
Well,
that.
I mean, I just don't see us
I understand.
really
In all
sitting
honesty.
down and
Understood.
combing this all out until
Sure.
March.
And we're already halfway through our budget for this fiscal year, so
See, that's
it's
the
actually a
reason-
more reasonable, sensible.
I just
timeframe.
thought because of the way that, payment scheduling and such might be conducive to the city to put this into this year, next year, and almost into maybe even 2005. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah,
Just so it
well, the way
kind
we
of
work our
works.
budget, though, is in January, we will start to plan for the 204, 205 years. So 203, 204, as it stands right now, is pretty well set
Spent.
and
Handled done.
expended. So even if the commission were to say right now, oh, yes, let's do it, they would still have to consider the fact that we're already beyond
Understood.
the current budget.
Understood. Okay.
Can we
As far as-
say then June or before as part of the, is that all right
Sounds
with you?
wonderful, yes.
All right, so then we want a motion saying that and also to reimburse Jeffrey for the insurance.
Would
And
you
then we're
like-
going to have to take out a
This
next
coming
policy also for the
policy.
coming year.
Would you like me to do the motion?
Sure.
Yeah? Or anybody else jump? Yeah?
You
Make
and-
a motion
two
to
in chorus.
approve the reimbursement for the insurance costs in regards to the statute, and also to, with the kindness of Jeffrey, to extend to June, if not sooner, decision on the purchase of the statute.
And we foot the bill for the insurance for the next,
I- it was- I-
no, you said reimburse him, but that was for this year.
We have handled that one already,
right.
earliest part
For
of
the
the year. So I'm just looking
Just
at
for the
the
extension.
lapse and the extension, and we'll have to do that once
Good.
again, just like you said. I've already been reimbursed.
all right. Are we all right?
Yep.
Did I do it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
and we're just about out of time. Thank you all.
Okay. Let's move on to Francis Stephen Park benches. Do you want to comment, or do you want me to do it?
The subcommittee chair? Mr. Chairman?
The sub, or part of the sub, met at Francis Stevens Park, our goal being to come up with some seating and maybe some rearranging of the atmosphere around the fountain, which I think all of us have been very desirous of for quite some time, so that we don't have to stand out in the sun and we have a place to sit down like most people do in public places to look at artwork. So we met with Jerry Ogburn, Leona and I, and Kathy, and a proposal is going to be presented to us. Well, it's actually a re-proposal of a concept that Tom had come up with when the fountain was originally proposed for a landscaping scheme. And he's digging that up, looking at the refinements of it, and then presenting it back to the subcommittee. And we will come back to you with that, rather than just go out and helter-skelter move some benches there. Jerry has given us costs on them, but it's premature to propose something yet. We're desirous also of having some shade and other features that go along with just the seating itself. So we will get back to you as soon as we get the next set of proposals.
Have we revisited the contract?
Yes, I have.
Yes, that's next.
As far as I can tell from the contract and the two amendments, there is nothing specific in the language that says the artist has any say-so in shade or landscaping or anything beyond the fountain. Most of what I can ascertain is that there were conversations, a lot of conversations and meetings that happened, that there were decisions made based on those meetings, but as far as a legal document that says that you cannot place a bench or place a tree or a shrub in the concrete area, I can't find anything. Now, as it relates to doing anything to the fountain itself, I'm sure that gets into the artist's rights, and that is an area that John and I may have to talk with the city attorney about to see, because we're not experts on artist rights and what do they call that? There's a word. Copyright. Thank you. But in any case, we're going to have to take that at a separate step, but just in reviewing the contract, there is nothing that says the commission is not allowed to add a tree or bench or shrubs.
We also want to make sure that what the definition of the fountain, where does the art piece itself stop and where does it start?
Right.
Because the fountain is here, there's an arroyo here, there's an amphitheater, and there's the reflecting pool. And how much of that concrete is, if any, part of the fountain? We think none. We think that is surrounding atmosphere to the fountain, and therefore we have the right to do other things to it, such as berming on the backside of the curve, such as placement of trees and so on. Those are the things, the technical things that we'll solve with the city attorney. But we're moving forward as if that is under our purvey, so that we can make it a much more user-friendly situation than it is now. And we will get back to you as soon as we get the next set of reports.
This will stay on your agenda.
It's around. Next, the Bilardo Bridge project, a clarification from the head of staff.
Yes, I am going to hand out a letter. Basically, from the last meeting, we sent a letter to the Agua Caliente planning person, Michael Atencio, who did the presentation about the Bilardo Bridge project, and this is a letter signed by our chairman, and it just basically states the support of the commission to the project, however, not choosing one proposal over another, but in fact, giving the tribe the ability to review both proposals, which as of today, they have not seen the proposals. They will soon. That was with the report back to me, and as soon as they have made a decision, they will inform us, they being the Tribal Planning Commission or Council.
We still have final approval on the design concept that comes to us because it is partly a city project, even though it's on Indian land.
And that is all we have on that item.
Tracy?
So the question that came to light, or to the understanding, is that the artwork, even though it's going to be paid for by the tribe, and that the bridge is constructed on Indian land, tribal land, it falls under public arts because it's in view of the public eye, and that the city's involved with the funding, or getting the grant, from what I understand.
Right, there's a grant, and I think that it's a partnership, and out of that partnership is to bring this to the commission to get their input and support for that concept of adding artwork. I don't think that, again, I think what Michael said, the artwork and all that is not paid for by the grant. It is a separate payment, so it almost became a separate project from the original intent of the bridge.
Okay. Well, I guess where I got confused was that if it either falls under, our guidelines as a commission of public arts, or it doesn't. And if it does, then the presentation should have been made just like any other presentation, correct?
Are you asking as far as how it was added to the agenda last month?
No,
basically?
how it was added, or if anybody wanted
Well-
to get the approval of the Public Arts Commission, wouldn't you go through regular channels to make a presentation of that?
Well, I think that what happened is at the previous meeting, the engineer, the director of engineering, David Bracken, gave a staff report about this project will be coming to the commission. And in the meantime, we needed to get this settled, but we didn't have a clear answer as to when that was going to be done. And it became kind of an item that needed to be added in order to help the tribal planning member get this through us so that he can take this to the tribal council.
It just seemed kind of interesting to me how it came about, that's all. But that's fine.
I just want to clarify one thing. I need to know if we have the final say-so on the design when they've chosen it, or are we just an advisory wing, which is different from what we normally are? I just need that clarified, black and white.
It is my understanding we're an advisory
So
role.
if they wanted to put up fuchsia goalposts and pink hearts, they could do so. No, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being very honest.
If they wanted to do that on the spa, I think they would have. I mean, it's the same sort of example. If the planning associate, brought this to the commission because I think that they understand that it is a partnership and want the support of the commission, and also realize the expertise that the commission lends.
See, that's where I have my confusion in it, because from what I understand, that if the city was not involved with it in a partnership for funding, that the bridge wouldn't be built.
Well,
See, it's different than the casino. I mean, we don't have city money.
That's true, but it's not city money, actually. It is federal money. It is a grant.
And a grant is
So,
going to.
From my understanding, now, I don't know the complete details of the Bilardo Bridge. It has been a project that has been in the works or in the proposed stage for a number of years. So it is now just coming to fruition in that the funds have been granted. And now they're able to move forward with the actual construction. So, you know, how it came about 5, 6, 7 years ago,
No,
or however long
no,
it's
that's
been.
not what my question is.
It's
That's not-
all, I think what we want to know right now, or before it comes back to us, is it under our view? I mean, do we have the right to approve or not approve, yes or no, that simple? Or are we just, those are very nice, whatever you choose is okay with us?
You know,
Because
and I
that's
want, I want
essentially
to
what we've done.
everybody to understand that I'm willing, you want to work with our neighbors and dealing with the tribe, but the other thing is, we've also have to protect ourselves, and if this is a situation that falls under Public Arts Commission, then we should be accepting our responsibility the way that it's put to us. And from what I understand is that this grant flows from the city, from the federal government through the city. If the city was not involved in it at all,
The grant
which would be
wouldn't
fine,
exist.
the grant wouldn't be offered. There'd be no money to build the bridge. So that's where the question comes in. Do they want us just to go, yeah, that's great, like what Leo's saying, or do we really have, if it comes out poorly, do they come back and say, what happened to public arts? You guys didn't have any input?
But why would they have come to us in the first place if they didn't care what we thought? I don't understand.
No, it isn't that they don't care what we thought. It's just, how much do they care? I'm concerned about your health, but
All I
I
can
wish you
do,
well.
what I'll do, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, is ask the engineer to assist me in getting this answered through the
Good.
through the tribal council and Tom Davis, and I will talk to him as well, and get the legal as it stands, as how this partnership is working, and what it is they're exactly looking to the commission to do.
Because I don't think we
that's
really
what I-
have a lot of problems with what they presented. They
Right,
happened
no,
to-
it was beautiful.
They sent out 9 RFPs, and they got 2 good ones back. So I
just,
don't think it's
want to
that.
make
We
sure
just-
that
yeah.
we know what our responsibilities are. That's all that I'm
Well, I
saying.
think the
The
problem
grants.
too is that this time they presented to us 2 very nice proposals. It
But-
could have been 3 terrible
Horrible
proposals.
proposals.
So we really need to know where we stand when we make the comment as to whether to approve or to say, well, no, those are all terrible.
My recollection from the last meeting was that when it was presented to us, it was presented as, this is just a courtesy and we don't really have a say. They were just looking to us to give an opinion. That was my understanding was when an actual decision is made, we don't make that decision. That it's totally their decision. They just were looking for input.
And if that's the case, tell us.
Well, I think he was telling us that.
Well,
I felt that in his proposal, that he was just asking us what we thought, and that was all we had to do, was to think, and we weren't to make the decision for them. I thought that was fairly clear during the presentation.
but is that true? In other words, now that is it correct? I mean, if the city is involved in the grant, then it is under the surveillance of the city also, and therefore, do we come into play? We just need to have it clarified. It's not a big
I will do my best to
constitutional
clarify it
thing.
and bring it back to you
Yeah,
next month.
That'll be great. Thank you. Any other questions on that? Under the art collection, maintenance, and restoration issues, your report, there's some interesting facts, and one is that because the staff's already working on a database that'll contain the permanent history of each piece, with the year installed and so on and so on and so on, and all the plaque information in current condition. Secondly, the subcommittee just looked at every piece in April and May and listed observations, and with very few exceptions, things didn't require major overhauls, like this did, and a problem with the standing woman, and so on and so forth. But these things have been taken care of. The RDB piece is being taken care of. And since the staff is continuing to address issues as they arrive, and is facing these things, I don't know that we need, at this point, to go into an expenditure of going out and doing an RFP and finding a conservancy group that will come in and give us bids and so on, because so much of the work that those people would do has already been done by the subcommittee and by staff. And I would rather look at it, since there isn't a dire need at the moment, and since this database is being done by staff, to leave it as it is for now, not look to spend a lot of money, and do it the way we're doing now, because you guys have been so good at updating us on what the situation is. How do you feel about that?
I don't see a problem with waiting until you're putting all these things on the computer.
Yes.
And then we would have them, and
Right.
then we can visit a certain number of them every
Exactly.
so often,
And save money.
because we're not flush with money now.
That is correct.
So what we're talking about doing is checking on the artwork on a regular basis, the commission itself. But what I'm missing in this whole thing was, were we not thinking about getting ahead of the game to maintain the artwork on a regular maintenance basis? But are we now going back to the fact that you want to do it as needed? Is that what you want to do?
Well, certain things require continual maintenance, such as the object at the corner of Alejo and Palm Canyon. And other things are more of an as-needed basis that can be determined by the committee. And we do have somebody locally who is awfully good at restoration and conservancy.
I'm all for that, as long as we get on it quicker than we have. I mean, when you get to a point that you have to completely get in and spend thousands of dollars to restore a piece of artwork, it'd be nice to catch it.
Absolutely right.
So
But
that would be the big key to
But
it.
the good thing out of it is, out of all the pieces that we have, that was the only one that needed
That was really
Extensive.
real extensive work. The other things were able to be fixed quickly.
Yeah.
They can be enhanced. You know, the bird piece, for instance, when we looked at that, it could have used some landscaping around it, because that is a gorgeous piece.
Oh, is it ever?
And nobody ever sees the
No.
bird piece. It is just beautiful.
You're afraid to look because it's so dangerous
And,
driving in that area.
And landscaping around it would really enhance it. But we don't control that, so all we can do is recommend, for instance, on that one. And,
If there's nobody that feels strongly that we should do it any other way, I'd like to proceed just the way that we're doing
Just to table
it.
this for a
Just table
time.
it
We
for
have a
now.
lot of
Yeah,
things
when
on
we
our
have
plate.
more money and can consider having people permanently.
Yeah.
And what I'll attempt to do is I slowly work through the files and look at contracts and, all of that kind of stuff. And the database is being built as we speak. And that's primarily where all that information comes from, is the file. So at some point shortly, I will have something for you to look at that will be more clear as to, locations and all this other information.
And just for your information, the one biggest need is being addressed. We are looking at it in every way possible, and that's the fountain. And we're doing everything we can to get out from under that burden and
We
figure
have
out the way to do
We
it.
have this person now, part-time,
That is the other thing I'm working through, yes.
so we need to know what that person can do and get the most from.
Right
And-
now, he's in training, and we're working through that as we.
I've also
we go
talked
through
with the
this as
artist
well.
3 times, and, I've also talked with the artist 3 times, and seems very concerned about the condition of the fountain. If there are no further questions, let's move on to PSPS. Beth?
Well, I think everything's under control. The invitations went out, or the call for artists went out, and all we need to do is have the artwork arrive and judge it, and hang it, and have a party. So unless Paula has any comments about things that need to be done, it sounds great. And you did a really good job on that.
Oh, thank you.
Invitations.
Kathy and I are discussing it daily, because I won't be here.
That's
So
right.
we're getting everything together, and most everything's gonna be prepared for Kathy. She'll be ready, by the time I leave, everything should be together.
if anything happens, we can just muddle through this together.
Oh, we'll make
And,
it.
and our caterers is in town.
Yeah,
Are
but-
you guys going to do the same things that you've done the past couple of years? You'll
Yeah.
do
So
food,
well
You'll do
received.
drinks, and you'll
Well,
do paper goods?
we'll see who will do what,
Okay.
but we probably will.
So you pretty much know what you need to
I'd li-
do.
I'd like to volunteer for the men on the committee, since I was summarily dismissed last year, that we will be glad to schlep for you.
Thank you. We will appreciate. You will be our main schlepper.
Thank you.
Is that a noun, schlepper?
Let's move on to the Chihuly unveiling ceremony. Again, we had a subcommittee meeting. We are moving along. The major thing that we want to do before we do any planning for the party, et cetera, is to choose how we're going to do the plaques, because that's the one key. We met over at DLE, which is the digital laser engraving. Etching.
Sorry.
Thanks to Janice's recommendation. We had a nice meeting with them. Subsequently, Kathy has worked with Barry and gotten a sample of the material, which turns out not to be stone, but concrete that's been treated. And this is what we have, and they've gotten this, did you take it over to them? Anyhow, they
Yes.
got it. And they have now etched it, and we just got it hot off the press 2 seconds ago. If we used, and this is not the design of the wings, this has nothing to do with, just an example of what the etching and engraving on the stone that's there, that we could add stone back onto the surface that would match perfectly. The problem with it is, we think that this is made in Italy, and we don't think that there's much of a supply that exists in the hangar somewhere in storage. So we may not be able to use this, but at least this gives us an idea of what etching into a hard material like this would look like, rather than applying brass or gold or whatever. So here's what it looks like, and I'll pass it around. Oh, and it's heavy.
The airport staff is checking to see if there are extra tiles available in storage. And they will also check with the contractor to see if perhaps there's a local vendor. And I think, Leona, you had asked for us to check on that. And
One of the things, if you notice on here, it's very, very subtle. Color or something can be applied into the etching. That would give it a reflective quality, either gold or bronze or whatever we chose. This is about as subtle
That's what I'm saying, it's really
as you can
subtle.
get. And the etching, you got to remember, this is done digitally and by laser. It's not like Michelangelo was sitting there carving it. It's very surface. Of course, it's not going to get wear, you're not going to be walking on it, etc.
I think it was your desire to not detract from the actual artwork. And this certainly is an example of not detracting from even the base itself.
This is just to give you an idea of where we've gone so far, and it's not either this or nothing. This is but one suggestion. DLE has other suggestions. We could do an entirely different kind of thing where you can apply color directly into the surface. There are many other ways of doing it. And we aren't going forward with the planning other than to try to pick a date, because we don't know what we're going to do with the plaques yet. And that's the hang-up. What do you think of this? What's your opinion, Tracy? Don't look at the design. It's way over
I think
etched.
it's too subtle. I mean, I think that, I don't know how this wears, or after a while when it gets dirty, if we're going to be able to see it, if people will be able to see it, but that's just my feeling.
That was one thing that we did talk to them about wearing, and their process, everything that they've done on different kinds of stone, it wears extremely well and doesn't require maintenance, and it's not real thick. I mean, it's not deep. So it wears better because then you don't get pitting and scarring, and so and it would stand up to the weather. They've done a lot of this process on headstones in cemeteries.
Well, now, this is done so that it's white. Do they do it with a different color? Because you
That's what I
mentioned
said.
color, so
You can-
meaning.
I don't think you can change, you can only put the color there that's the base of the, whatever it is you're working with.
Oh, I
Then
see.
they can add color into it. I believe that's what.
Do they?
Yeah,
They
it
said.
depends on what the underlying stone is, because basically what they're doing is they're just etching away.
Oh, they're taking away
They're
the top
taking
surface?
away, so whatever is
Oh,
underneath.
I see.
So you could either inject another color, or you get another kind of material where it comes out darker.
Oh, I see. Because I think that stone is perfect, but,
Well, it is the stone.
yeah,
But
definitely,
it's,
yeah,
but underneath is just blah.
right.
You know, there's-
Unfortunately.
Yeah, there's no color at all. It's not, you're not dealing with multicolored marble or granite or, now,
Can they go deeper?
No.
No? So this is just a little etching thing, it's not a laser?
we asked
cutting.
that.
Do they have the ability to do the deeper?
Well, there's some variability in depth. I don't know how deep,
Not
but I know
very
there's
much.
and there's just enough. I know that there's like I saw some done on marble, and you could see shading. And the reason you could see shading was because some of it was a little bit deeper. So you got that illusion that, you know, it was all different colors.
The one thing I'd like to apologize is that we just got this. You saw the guy bring it, so it should have, we really should have come back to the sub, and we should have looked at it and then reported it back out to you. But we were anxious for you to see this, because now we're gonna lose another whole time frame period in planning. So the sooner we can make this decision, the better. So we'll jump back on it and come up with some other proposals.
I wonder what the contrast would look like if we started out with a high polished surface and then they etched it, which would become then flat.
That's another suggestion. They suggested either doing a granite or a marble that would emulate or contrast with what's there.
Yeah, see, the contrast is what I'd be looking for.
Oh, I agree. I think this is too subtle.
Polished. Can that be polished? That, I don't know. Can there be a gloss put on that and then etching in the gloss so there's more contrast?
Probably, but those are questions we need to ask. I think if you don't mind, the one thing that we're taking as a direction from all of us as a commission is, we don't want to do something obtrusive on there. And I think we all agree that if we put big bronze or silver or gold or any kind of plaque up there,
No.
it's going to look awful. Although I will say that the fountain plaquing is good. That sort of stainless steel flat finish, it's very subtle. It looks very nice, just,
I think the thing that bothers me about that is that it's difficult to read.
yeah.
I mean, I noticed everybody was turning it to get the light to hit it. That's basically.
I was trying, yeah, and also trying to see if there was going to be a glare on it.
So
Although it'll still be.
You have our word, we will go back to them quickly, and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. And even if it's by letter or email or whatever, we'll report our findings to you. And Beth is quitting her job just so she can be there. Budget review.
Your boss watching? Just briefly, as we sort of alluded to earlier, is I'm going to attempt to keep you up to date on the budget. And again, in January, we will start to work on the 204-205 budget. And I did prepare this little handout for you, basically to give you final figures of the 6/30/03 year-end report, because when we did the presentation in June, we were actually working with May numbers, which was not the end of the year. So this gives you, if you look down to the bottom where it says fund balance 6/30/03, that gives you the number for the year-end. The third column then shows you the year-to-date And again, we're always a month behind. I think the promising news and the most exciting news is that we are within 20,000 of our revised budget as far as revenue generation. So that's really good news. Naturally, the expenditures aren't going to equal the year-end numbers yet, but I just wanted to briefly bring you up to date of where we are today in revenue totals, and we'll continue to work on this. And I'm trying to figure out a way to present this also in a way that the format is easy to read and understand, and any backup material can be readily available to you. But it is a little bit of time to put it all together.
Does the arts project include the entrance sign?
No, and again, these are actual expenditure items to date. Does not show encumbrances, it does not show what has been budgeted for the year. So again, it's a little bit misrepresentative as to what is actually available.
Even the column that says revised budget, because you've got adopted budget for 2003, 2004, so that's the year we're in. And then next to that, the revised, okay, we've got adopted budget where we were going to be break even basically for the year, and revised budget, and then next to that is the year to date.
Right.
So when you're looking at the middle, the revised budget, does that include anything for the city signage?
I believe that does include under art projects the city
The
signage.
80,000?
Yes,
So
it
it
does.
is in there.
Plus the 12?
Yes, under
That's
the
what-
revised budget.
Right, right.
You mean under the 149?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I was looking at. And so that would also have the design fees and everything else that we've done with that.
The, under expenditures, it's what we anticipate, for this,
Okay.
the city signage is probably the major project in there. And then some other maintenance, line item types of things, and then, of course, administrative costs.
So it looks like we're in a little bit better shape than we thought we were going to be.
The one area I wanted to point out the most is the actual revenue collection, because under our revised budget, we said art fees, a collection of 181, and we've actually are at 165 already to date, and that's just from July 1 to, this would be the October 28th.
And the administrative, would that also include the monies that we're spending for the fountain maintenance?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
So that's in the,
Or yes, it does, under the revised
that's
budget.
in the 106?
Yes.
Good. We need a good CPA.
So any suggestions from the experts on numbers of how you'd like to see this formatted? I'd be happy to hear that. And
This is-
Lori, we can always talk about that later.
Yeah, this is pretty clear,
Okay.
especially the bottom.
Yeah, I think it's just good news that we're in a little better shape than we thought we were. We kind of felt like we spent everything and.
Now that you're in a good mood.
Next item.
It is nice, thank you. And this is so nice. It's so nice to be informed. I think we can all vouch for that. The last item on the agenda, Tockwitz Corridor. We have a subcommittee that has met, and I'll bring you up to date. This is the first time I've been able to broach the subject. The subcommittee is Harry Wick and Tracy Heller, and we met, and don't act surprised you were there. We have a very phenomenal proposal on the table, a phenomenal proposal for the city of Palm Springs and for the organization that we would be going into this with. We had a meeting with the mayor and Mr. Raymond, Kathy, and myself, Janice Lyle, and Mary Perry, who's the Director of Development at the Desert Museum, Palm Springs Desert Museum. What is wonderful for us, and then I'll tell you, of course, it's going to be obvious what's good for them. This is an amazing cooperative effort that would give us, as the city of Palm Springs, the ability to put forth in our fabulous Tockwitz Corridor, which we've been talking about for a number of years, really incredible art that we would absolutely not be able to afford if we tried to go out and buy it. Art that is of museum quality, because the proposal is to rent over an extended period of time from the Palm Springs Desert Museum some of their own collection of art and put it out into the public view down the Tockwitz corridor to supplement the Cahuilla women and to bring it from that intersection all the way up towards City Hall on an incremental basis, so many at a time. We have not, of course, worked out all the details as to what's involved, but as I say, it would give us, we can put heroic pieces of art into an area that needs to have heroic pieces of art, because you can't put anything insignificant or small there. Even our beautifully newly restored bust of JFK, you go by it before you even realize that it's out there. And I would love to relocate that. But the idea is to at last have something that the city can hold its head very high and say, this is part of our city art collection. The proposed time is over a 5-year frame, and what we are talking about is approximately $50,000 a year over a period of 5 years. For $50,000, we would begin to get some really incredible pieces. Janice and Catherine Huff have supplied me with some suggestions. Do not say these are the only ones. These are not the only ones, and they are subject to other promises and contracts that the museum has with other commitments. They have a commitment to do sculptures on the campus of UC Riverside and Cal State in Palm Desert, and they have to, and those have been on the board for about 2 to 3 years. So these are not the only ones. Also, in talking with Janice, she's given us a wonderful idea of the museum being in a position to go to really outstanding artists and have their works on loan to the museum, thus to us. So we can do it over a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year period, so that what is out there tomorrow maybe not be out there a year from now or 2 years from now, or if it's something that we feel very strongly about, that it would be out there for the whole 5-year period. So it's a wonderful win-win for both organizations. For us, it's obvious. For them, it gives them a wonderful flow of income, which also shows a great deal of strength from the city of Palm Springs in the museum going to other cities and working with them, because one of the first questions always asked is, you're in Palm Springs, what has Palm Springs done for you? And with the exception of the Michael Todd piece in back of Desert Fashion Plaza, we have not done a great deal with this wonderful resource that we have right in our own lap. So this is the idea. I'll pass this around to you. There are pieces in here that I think are really spectacular. Very interestingly, one of them is the Michael Todd. Another one is Betty Gold, who is a world-renowned artist. And in fact, I can mention this later, but Betty is having a major exhibition at COD at the new Walter Marks Gallery coming up. And so that's the concept, that's the idea. It gives us art that we wouldn't be able to have. It gives them funds that they would not be privy to.
Let me ask a question. We would be paying them $50,000 a year, and they would be loaning the city, a certain number of
Correct.
art pieces.
Correct, to be determined.
Put up in the
Tockwitz
Tockwitz
corridor.
corridor. We would establish bases, et
Absolutely.
cetera, pads, whatever, and then this would be on a rotating.
Those details haven't been done, but yes, on a rotating basis. Based on so many things. Is it going to stand well with the weather? Is this the wrong piece? Did we put the wrong thing there because it just doesn't work as well. So we're not going to be so site-specific that only the Betty Gold will work there and nothing else will work. You know, we'll see.
Have to be flexible.
Be flexible. And then also, they're very amenable to helping us, you know, once the corridor is done between the new convention center extension and downtown, there's going to be pathways and walkways that are just crying for landscaping that will also, on a much smaller scale, be able to be supplied by the museum. And they're very amenable to discussing that also as part of this whole thing. As I said, what I need from you guys is, what do you think of the idea so that we can go forward and say, yes, let's start working out the details?
I have a couple of questions concerning the cost. First of all, when would we be paying this? Do we pay the $50,000 all in one lump sum, or is it a monthly
That has not
amount?
been worked out. My guess is that we do it once a year or twice a year.
Okay, and secondly, I'm assuming we would pay for all the installation costs?
Correct.
And we would be responsible for maintenance?
Those have not been worked out either. I'm not so sure that that's cut in stone. I think that's something that would be part of negotiation as to who would do the conservancy on it.
Okay.
I think they're open to a lot of suggestions.
I think it's a great idea.
I like that. It sounds really, really great. I mean, we've talked about that for a long time. Insurance would be something that wouldn't have to be worked out too, because there are costs with us. We know from, you know, Jeffrey's piece that, that there would be insurance on these things. And but it sounds like a terrific thing. Give the museum more exposure, Palm Springs
Tremendous amount of exposure.
Sounds great.
And would give us a very significant looking art collection. I mean, that already exists in a museum. And now we're bringing it out into public view.
Who would be making the determination on what goes out there? Because you were talking about things could change if
We,
okay.
not
They
the
would-
royal we.
Okay, so the museum would say, here are pieces, here are some options.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These are here's 6 suggestions. I don't know which. I tried to get Janice. Janice left for Cuba at the end of last week. So she was unable to get me. I asked for Catherine and Janice to give me an edited version of this if either or any of these have been promised to the new campuses.
And you don't know how many pieces it would include? You
No.
have an idea, a range?
A range would be, we were in our conversations, we're starting with perhaps 3 and going from up to 6, 7. You know, we don't want it to look like a cluster of stuff just because there's space. And when you really look at that space out there, there's certain areas that just look like they would want a representation, and there are others that just don't need it at all. It can't look like El Paseo. I think what they do on
That's
El
too
Paseo
crowded.
is admirable,
Right.
but it's much more intimate and it's crowded. And it's a sort of a showcase for the galleries out there.
Well, that's also a pedestrian street
That's
as
what I
well,
mean,
and
it's more
Tahquitz
intimate.
isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can run back and forth. I mean, you don't dare run across the street here. And so they have to be major pieces, well, except for staff. They have to be pieces that, you know, like you were talking about 50 miles an hour, whoosh, down Tahquitz corridor, 35, 40 miles an hour. What else? Lori, how are your feelings?
Well, I think it sounds very interesting, and I think it sounds wonderful. It certainly is in keeping with what we had hoped to do for Tahquitz Corridor, but we kind of had sort of tabled it just from the standpoint of the budgeting, and while I'm thrilled to see that we've got more than we thought we had, it's still a pretty big commitment, considering we don't have that much sitting there, and things can change from year to year. And we've also got costs that we're going to have to look at in terms of designing these spaces and where would be appropriate
Correct.
to put the pads, and what will we have to do with the irrigation around there, because there's some things that would probably have to be done differently there. So I guess I would be, I think it's interesting. I think that it would be great if we could go that direction, but I'd sure like to see more numbers and what the costs are going to be to develop the sites.
Absolutely.
And I think we'll work towards that end. And again, I think going back to the original budget question, it probably wouldn't start, there's going to be a time period where we have to work all of these issues out, but.
What I wanted from you is your feelings and your direction, and then we get down to the polishing and the details to see if it works. What are we going to get for our money, and how much are we going to get to showcase it? And one of the things, and why I mentioned the fountain, is to try to unburden ourselves of that tremendous cost. If we can just do that, we've paid for each year. So instead of paying maintenance, we would be paying for what we are commissioned to do, and that is present art to the public.
And support the Desert Museum, which I think is important too.
Extremely important. They get very good cooperation from some cities, and from others they don't. And the first question, as Janice said, is, what has your hometown done for you? So I take it, I don't hear, naturally in the constraints of money, but I don't hear a feeling that it's not a good thing. As Martha would say, it's a good thing.
No, I think it's very good.
Would it be then the Commission's desire to perhaps prepare a memo of some sort to Dr. Lyle to let her know, her and her staff know, that the Commission would like to move forward?
We didn't hear from Tracy yet.
Well, I was just sitting back because I was on the subcommittee, and I think that it's something that we should really explore, and I think it's something that we should take to that next step. Granted, this is just the beginning of it, but if the commission so felt that we wanted to go a little bit further, I'm really in favor of that, and see exactly how many pieces we're talking about, what the maintenance situation, all those other things you can cross later, but just to find out if we even want to entertain the fact of doing a rental. And I think it seems like an all win-win situation. If we get, there again, if you get your representation for your dollars.
This would be an interesting thing to have certain people or banks or whatever sponsor an area for each one,
Not just another pretty face.
This is sponsored by Bank of America,
Wonderful.
Canyon Bank.
Wonderful.
Whatever.
What a
and
wonderful idea.
Underwrite, at least getting the pedestals and the
Ah.
clearing around it and some of that.
We could even do that at Leona's Corner.
I'm going to bring that up after the first of the year.
Good. Well, we talked about that. So I think there's a consensus, and as far as the memo, can we direct you to write the memo of intent? Based upon all the concept is there, based upon all the constrictions of cost, maintenance, and of course,
Yes.
naturally, what it's going to look like. But I think it's pretty exciting.
Great.
The city is very excited about it also, at least one administration. I think that's it on legislative. Are there any added starters? Staff?
None. Oh, yes. Two things. There are two invitations. Leo's already talked about one, and here's another one, and I'll pass the extras around. And just a reminder that next month's meeting will be on December 18th. Because we needed to make a change to accommodate the film crew, so to speak.
Oh.
We will be in this room.
Tell the city clerk.
You will be telling her, Paula. Thank you.
So we just don't know for sure that we'll be in this room yet.
We know we'll be in this, well, you're right. Okay, absolutely. In any case, the meeting will be on December 18th in either this room or the council
Why is it
chamber.
we're doing it on the 18th?
Rick Lee, the crew that does the film, or the on-air,
Oh, this is for Leo.
is not available on our regularly scheduled date.
18th. That's a Thursday?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Following way.
Well, has everyone seen that then?
Okay, any other
Oh,
staff?
they've got it.
No.
Commissioner comments, reports, requests?
Didn't Tracy have a request?
Yeah, but I don't think I really want to hold the meeting up that long. I think what I'd like to do is maybe Leo can give me a little bit of insight on some of those thoughts that I have. I don't know if we need to have it.
We can, if the three of us perhaps can meet together,
That'd be great.
and maybe we can even include John if there are more technical questions that we need to ask, because I think your request has to do with the way perhaps the ordinance, some of the ordinance issues and developer fees and how that
Just
really
so that
works.
I
And I think it would be educational for me as well and helpful.
Why don't you two guys pick it out, because you have the constraints of when you can get away.
Okay.
And also you.
All right.
Me, I
Okay.
just
I'll
sit
work with you on
around
that,
and.
Tracy.
Thank you.
Should that be a study session for everybody? I don't know. Should we all learn
Can you
something?
pick a date and then let everybody know with an email if they're interested?
As long as we
Well,
don't
as
have
long as we know
quorum.
Well, maybe we
far
can-
enough in advance, you can post it.
Yeah, or I could make a presentation at one of our meetings once I get a little guidance. I can give a summary of that if that works for people.
Fine.
Okay.
Good, thank you for your interest. Just one comment, just another hat that I'm wearing, and that is the invitation for COD. This is the new Walter Marks Center for the Arts. It's a very exciting concept. It's a jewel of a gallery, and this is the Betty Gold exhibit. These are all macchias that were done in Italy, and they're really quite gorgeous. And it's an ongoing thing, a series of events, and I'll keep you posted on it. There's two big shows, one in January and February, that I think you'll be most interested in. One of them is a new photographer, and another one is Pascal. And if any of you know Pascal's work, she's the only woman that's ever been able to sculpt in glass. And her work is breathtaking. And we're very fortunate to be able to get her. We're going to be celebrating her 90th birthday during the exhibit. So I will keep you informed about what's going on there. Any other? Thank you all for, that was a long thing, but I think it was well done on that entrance sign. I think it's just too important an issue to just brush aside. So I thank you. I entertain a motion at this point in time.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Anybody object? Tracy?
No, I'm in favor.
We're done. Thank you all.